Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, comprehensive manga. Starting from the Soul Society and cutting through all the worlds. Chapter 1, Soul Society, Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy. At this moment, in the assembly hall of Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy, a large number of students and even teachers wearing the uniforms of Spiritual Arts Academy students gathered here. Because today is the annual graduation ceremony of Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy, as this year's graduate, Nan Yicheng is also among the graduates, waiting for the graduation ceremony to begin. Yicheng, wait a minute, which division do you want to join? The person who asked Yicheng was a man with narrow eyes, a fierce expression, and a head as bright as a steel ball. Because the light reflected from the bald head in the sun was so dazzling, there was almost no one around them except Yumashika Ayashikawa, who had a very good relationship with Madarame Kazuo. Didn't I already say this when I was at Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy? My ideal team is the 4th team. If there is no hope for the 4th team, then I will join the 13th team. In short, there is absolutely no way that I will join the 11th team with a brain cramp like you. Quote, the Gotei 13 is one of the important components of the Soul Society. It is a special force that maintains the order of the Soul Society in the world. The souls who can join the Gotei 13 are generally equivalent to joining the system, and they are also talented. Qualified to be called the God of Death. Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy is an institution where Seraiti trains Shinigami. Some souls from Rukongai who have good qualifications and strong spiritual power will usually enter the training here to learn the Shinigamis, slaying fists and walking ghosts, and become trainees, Grim Reaper. After the training is completed, the leader of the Gotei 13 team will arrange for team members to recruit new members here every year. The existences living in the Soul Society, whether they are souls on the side or the gods of death, are essentially spiritual bodies, and generally there is no such thing as a lifespan limit. But having a spirit body does not mean that you will not die. For the poor households in Rukongai, becoming the god of death of the Gotei 13 is a good job in the bodyguards, but the job of working with a knife is often difficult. All are accompanied by extremely high mortality rates. It is also for this reason that every year on the graduation day of the Mao Spiritual Arts Academy, the Gotei 13th Division, which is short of members, will come here to recruit members. In the large venue, the bustling graduates looked around, looked at the flags representing each division in the venue, and began to think hard about their future lives. It may seem good to be assigned a job within the system right after graduation, but in fact, most graduates of the Shino Spiritual Academy are also very aware that joining the Gotei 13 is extremely dangerous, and one may end up being cremated on the spot. Therefore, when choosing a division, the students of Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy are also extremely cautious. After all, once a division is chosen, it is almost impossible for ordinary Shinigami to change divisions halfway. There is no absolute fairness in the world, and no matter where you are, there is definitely a class gap. Even if they are not the 4 nobles and have no backing, they are just little shrimps now. It is good if they can get a job within the establishment. What qualifications do they have to be picky and picky? At least compared to the ordinary souls in Rukongai who have to starve at least twice a day, although the work of the Gotei 13 is a bit more dangerous, the benefits are already quite good. No way. Are you really planning to join the 4th Division and the 13th Division? I always thought you were joking. You've learned Zuken Zuko so well that you actually plan to join the medical team and the purification team. This is too ridiculous. Why don't you join Yumuchika and me in the 11th Division? The 11th Division is a combat division, and passionate fighting is a man's romance. With your strength, do you plan to go to the medical team or the decontamination team to retire? Quote, Yojo, Madarame and Yumashika Sagawa met in Rukongai. Because of the chaotic order in Rukongai, there were some conflicts between Yashura and the two at that time, and they had a fight with each other. And it was also because of that battle that Yicheng formed a certain friendship with the two of them, and came to Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy together. Akaku is a righteous man, and not many people admire him. When he was in Rukongai, he had always been a leader, until he met Yashura and another man named Zaraki. The battle with Yicheng was okay. Although he was defeated in the end, he was knocked down after the match was evenly matched. But when facing the man named Zaraki, Akaku was crushed by him without any backhand. And then Akaku heard that Zaraki had arrived at the Seraiti and became the Shinigami of the Gotei 13, so in order to follow him, when Yoroi asked to come to the Shino Spiritual Academy, Akaku agreed without hesitation, and also brought along his good friend Yumashika Sagawa. Who are you kidding? Why do you think I keep training Huidao, just to become an excellent medical ninja, to become an excellent member of the treatment team? A guy like you who only has a brain and muscles knows how to use a hammer. Personal attack is just heroism, but my ideal is to become a silently dedicated logistics worker. Quote. When he said these words, Yi Cheng's face showed a sacred expression with a long way to go. If others who were not familiar with him saw this, they might be infected by his spirit. However, Akaku and Yumashika have known Yashura for many years. Seeing his behavior now, they couldn't help but complain at the same time. Akaku. You guys, you are probably afraid of trouble. Yumashika. No, I think he is afraid of death. Sometimes I really don't understand. Yi Cheng's strength is obviously one of the best among this class of graduates. But in every assessment, he always suppressed his results to the middle or lower level. Isn't it good to attract attention because of his excellence? Or what are you afraid of? Quote. Compared to Akaku, a muscular idiot, Yumashika is definitely an intellectual player, as Yumashika discovered when they entered the Mao Spiritual Arts Academy together. The god of deaths, killing fists and walking ghosts, regardless of punches, walking, and ghosts, he knew that Yi Cheng's killing was already at a very high level, but every time he was tested, he knew at that time, the performance displayed was always below the average line. But when Yumashika and Akaku asked him why, Yojo would always say something they couldn't understand at all and very baffling. For example, don't show off your presence if you are not the protagonist, and, if you are too good, you might be targeted by a research geek, and so on. At the beginning, Yumashika thought that Yi Cheng had any enemies in the Serenity Palace. However, after many years at Junyang Spiritual Academy, everything was calm and no one even caused trouble for Yi City. Yumashika began to think that Yi City had some enemies. It's just a simple paranoia of being persecuted. But this is not surprising. After all, how many guys who have lived in Rukongai have completely normal personalities? Yoroki's strength is not bad, and his appearance is the best so far. Yumashika Ayashikawa is the only guy he has ever seen who can compete with him. It is normal for him to have some other flaws. Akaku had also heard about Yashura's paranoia of persecution from Yumashika, so the expression he looked at Yashura at this moment also revealed a look of regret. Akaku has always regarded Yashura as a strong opponent, and Yashura's strength is indeed quite outstanding, but this character is really. I'll say it again. I don't have delusions of persecution. This is normal risk avoidance. You, a narcissist and a fighting maniac, know how to make a teapot. Do you two know how many passers-by are killed in Jingalingting every year? Why do the graduates of the Shino Spiritual Arts Academy join the Gotei 13 every year, but the Gotei 13 has never been filled to capacity? After all, you two are important supporting roles with names and surnames. I am just a supporting role. If I am not careful, how can I live in this cruel world? Quote. Seeing Akaku and Yumashika looking at him with regretful expressions, Yoroki naturally opened his mouth to retort. However, it was a pity that Akaku and Yumashika did not believe what he said, and just patted him comfortingly. Shoulders, and Shota, we all understand, expression. Anyway, my goal is very clear. I have been planning to join the 11th Division as a combat division from the beginning. Where is Yumashika? With slightly ferocious eyes, he glanced at the recruitment points of the surrounding divisions. Akaku looked at the several muscular brothers gathered at the recruitment point of the 11th Division and suddenly showed a satisfied smile. Of course, I also joined the 11th Division. If possible, I would naturally want to join the 6th Division. After all, it is more in line with my temperament. But the 6th Division is a noble division, and it would be difficult for guys from Rukongai to join without connections. Excluding the 6th Division, the 11th Division that can appear frequently is naturally my first choice. Although I don't love fighting as much as Akaku, but I can appear frequently and let other Shinigami know my beauty, which is also quite good thing. Quote. As Yumashika spoke, he also held a mirror and a bottle of hair wax. He was extremely narcissistic and planned to get a bright hairstyle to increase the success rate of joining the company later. When he saw Yumashika taking out the hair wax, Yi Cheng quietly stepped back. He was allergic to hair wax, especially after knowing that a certain big boss in this world also liked to use hair wax. Yecheng, is it because my beauty has reached the point where you have to shy away from me? Everyone is so handsome, at least Yumashika thinks that his beauty is unparalleled, so after noticing Yoshiro's little behavior, he was naturally a little dissatisfied. Narcissists don't care about other people's feelings. Yumashika has always been extremely self-centered, but for his few friends, Yuchi's little actions at the moment made Yumashika a little unhappy. No, I think he just hates your hair wax, because it's not just him, it's me too. Applying hair wax in front of a bald head, are you mocking his spotty eyes, or are you showing off your beautiful hair? Every bald head has a great obsession with his or her pores and cannot allow others to desecrate them. My hair wax is a popular product of Jingling Ting. It is said that it also has a very significant effect on those without hair. Akaku. Really? Make some quickly and let me try it too. After being separated from Akaku and Madarame, who were like living treasures, Yoroki also began to look for the division he wanted to join. The Gote 13 actually used to be an assassin organization. However, due to some reasons, it was successfully eliminated in the end. The killers changed their jobs and became security guards, so the current Gote 13 inches came into existence. The Gote 13 teams each perform their own duties. One of the teams is also called the General Division, and is considered the leader of the Gote 13 teams. Generally, Shinigami who want to join this team must have sufficient qualifications. It is impossible for a rookie like him who graduated from Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy. The second division is a covert mobile team responsible for arrests, assassinations, and supervision of the Worm's Nest. It is a special division within the 13th division and is also a division with great power. The third team is the support team, the fourth team is the treatment team, and the fifth team is the rescue team. These three teams are also called support teams and are a good place for retirement. The sixth division is a division led by nobles. It is said that Mr. Yamamoto set up a division specifically for nobles in order to attract sponsorship. The 7th division is the inner court escort team, the 8th division is the intelligence team, the 9th division is the prison team, and the 10th division is the patrol guard team. The 11th division is a combat-specific division, the 12th division is the Technology Development Bureau, and the last 13th division is the Purification team. In addition to the first team and the noble team of the 6th team, students from the other teams of Juno Spiritual Arts Academy are actually expected to join them. And as long as you look around and see the people queuing up to sign up at the recruitment office, you can roughly tell the popularity of each division. As a combat team, the 11th division had the highest mortality rate in previous years, but since the arrival of a monster captain named Zaraki Kenpachi, the mortality rate of team members is now decreasing year by year. The reason is also very simple. It is said that the new captain Kenpachi not only has incredible strength, but also likes to lead the way and rush to the front every time. Therefore, this not only boosts the morale of the gays in the 11th division, but also it greatly reduced their casualties. Because it is a division that is responsible for fighting and is extremely dangerous, the welfare of Division 11 is also the best. In the past, when the mortality rate was high, it was sought after by many graduates, but now it is naturally even more so. The 2nd Division's Covert Force and the 12th Division's Technology Development Bureau are in special situations. Although they are recruiting people, they only need specific talents. The 2nd team needs Shinigami who have excellent mastery of Shunpo, while the 12th team needs students with smart minds and good written records at the Mao Spiritual Arts Academy. Obviously, due to hidden clumsiness, Yi Cheng has no connection with these two divisions. However, he has no regrets about this, because he decided from the beginning which team he wanted to join. The 4th division and the 13th division are the first choices. If both fail, then go to the 7th division, the 8th division, or the 10th division. If that doesn't work, then he can show some Shunpo skills or advanced spirit theory and join the criminal army or the Technology Development Bureau of the 2nd division. All in all, except for the above divisions, Yi Cheng has never even considered other divisions. As a member of the Time Traveler Army, he knew that although the 3rd team, the 5th team, and the 4th team seemed to be retirement teams, they would soon become one of the experimental targets of a certain hairspray boss. As for why the 4th Division and the 13th Division were chosen first, the reason is equally simple. Counting the many senior travelers who have traveled through the Death World, which one joined the 4th Division, which can both watch football and show off. Looking at the entire Soul Society, Rengoku is the only one who is big-minded enough to compete with Sister Hana. However, the captain of the 10th Division, Isshin Shiba, will soon be a third-rate quack doctor in the real world. The overall strength of the 10th Division is too weak, so Yuchi feels that it is safer to join the 4th Division. Although both Hana-san and Rengoku are generous, and Rengoku is even more broad-minded than Hana-san, the point is that Wa-san is strong enough. As the strongest Kenpachi in the past, the opponent not only has enough milk, but also the key it can still cover the scene. Counting the many Shinigami in the Soul Society now, Sister Hua's strength is definitely among the best, and there are definitely not many people who can make her fight. The 4th team does not have high requirements for the combat effectiveness of its members, but there is one thing that it does have to possess, and that is the mastery of ghost ways. The ghost path is divided into breaking path, to attack the enemy, binding path, to restrain the target, and return path, to recover from injuries. Compared with breaking way and binding way that most Shinigami use, there are not many Shinigami who master return way. On the one hand, return way is quite unpopular in the Kido system, there are very few numbers in the ghost path. In order to join the coveted 4th team, Yi Cheng specially practiced the way of return when he was at Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy, so he was quite confident about his joining this time. Minamino Makoto is the 6th reincarnation of the Shino Spiritual Arts Academy. His grades in the academy are above average, his level of slicing is above average, his level of white fighting is average to below, his level of shunpo is average to below, and his level of Kido is above average. With your Kido level, you do meet the recruitment standards of our 4th Division. Are you sure you want to join our 4th Division? Quote. The person in charge of recruiting team members for the 4th Division this time is a tall woman with a slender figure, big breasts, short silver gray hair, and an extremely delicate appearance. The reason why there is a special emphasis on tallness is because the 4th team member named Katetsuyun in front of Yi Cheng is 187 centimeters tall. Even for most men, it is enough to form a suppressive force. Of course, Yi Cheng has been quite outstanding in this life, both in terms of appearance and height, so standing in front of Yongyan at this moment, although he cannot overlook his career line, he will not be suppressed by his height. The current Yongyan is not the vice captain of the 4th team yet, and he should even be a newcomer who has joined the 4th team not long ago, so he is assigned here to recruit new people at this moment. In the recruitment offices of other divisions, several members were in charge of recruiting, but there was only Yongyan alone in the 4th Division. It was obvious that the young lady was either isolated or targeted by other members of the division. It's nothing new for seniors to make things difficult for newcomers in the workplace, especially for girls like Yongyan who have just graduated and seem to have a rather timid personality. Yes, I want to join the 4th team and become an excellent member of the treatment team. Are there any assessments required? Seeing the firm expression on Yi Cheng's face and the affirmative tone, Yongyan was also quite happy at the moment. Just as Yi Cheng thought, this time she came to Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy to recruit new team members, and Captain Ujawa assigned her to be on duty with the other 2 team members. But the 2 members of the 4th Division who came with her gave all the work to Yongyan on the excuse that Yongyan had just graduated here and was more familiar with the environment of Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy. Every year, various divisions come to Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy to recruit graduates. The number of members who are willing to join the 4th Division is really not that many. Compared to the 11th Division, which is the combat division, the 4th Division, the treatment division, is safer, but it is easier to be ridiculed. After all, they became the god of death to fight against the void. It would be quite shameless for their relatives and friends to find out about hiding among women every day. They are all students who have just graduated from Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy. It is normal for them to be arrogant and arrogant. The newbies who have not been tortured by reality always think that with their qualifications, they can soon be in the corpse soul. He shines in the world, becomes the captain of the squad, receives a high salary, and is surrounded by secretaries. There are far more female Shinigami members in the 4th Division than male members, and male Shinigami who choose to join this division are generally ridiculed by their colleagues. Therefore, Those graduates who are ambitious will usually choose the 11th division, which is easy to get ahead. Even those who consider safety will usually join the 3rd division, 5th division and other retirement divisions. Moreover, although the 4th division is a treatment division, it is not completely free of casualties. Battlefield doctors are also a very dangerous profession. Although he was always protected at the back of the team, he was easily attacked by others when he was concentrating on treating others. The 4th team has had fewer and fewer new members joining in the past few years, so much so that they have begun to experience staff shortages. Therefore, Captain Unohana has emphasized to them before that they must recruit at least a few new people this year. There is no need for assessments or anything like that for the time being, as long as your Kido level and spiritual pressure are up to standard. After all, it is not that simple to master the return path. Even many seniors in the team still don't know how to use the return path. Quote, return is a ghost path used for healing. The principle is to first restore the object's internal spiritual pressure, and then combine it with the external spiritual pressure applied by the caster to achieve the effect of healing injuries and restoring spiritual pressure. Although it is a kind of ghost path, mastering the return path is not a simple matter. This requires extremely perfect control of spiritual pressure. Yongyan wasn't sure whether recruitment of members from other divisions required assessment, but it was good enough that someone from their 4th division was willing to join. There was really no reason to be picky at the moment. Besides, she had just seen Yi Cheng's various statistics. Although he was not considered a top student, he was definitely more than enough to become a member of the 4th division. Although there were several school girls who wanted to join their 4th team before, Yongyan, who lowered his standards appropriately when he thought of the captain's previous instructions, ultimately rejected those school girls. The reason is also very simple. Although the various numerical values of those few schoolmates are good, the level of spiritual pressure and Kido is not up to standard. This is the most important standard for their 4th team. As a member of the 4th team, you may not be able to kill people with a knife, but once your ghost level is good, you can master the return, and your spiritual pressure level must be acceptable, otherwise the treated object has not recovered, and you are already weak. How can you be a qualified logistics personnel? Yongyan, how is the team's recruitment going? Can the vacancies in the team be filled this year? Just when Yi Cheng took the form from Yongyan and was about to fill in the information and officially join the 4th division, a soft voice suddenly sounded outside the recruitment office where they were, and then a hand with long fingers opened the door, curtain and appeared in front of Yi Cheng and Yang Yin. The person who came was a beautiful woman with a gentle and peaceful temperament, long black hair parted in the middle, and wearing a white captain's feather fabric with gray cherry-colored lining. In terms of temperament, the other person was obviously as elegant and noble as Yamato Nadeshiko, but the moment Yi Cheng saw the other person, the pores in his body trembled involuntarily. Even the moment the opponent appeared in front of him, Yi Cheng grasped the hilt of the Zanpakuto at his waist without knowing it. Oh, is this the new recruit our team has recruited this year? What about this very interesting kid? Did he sense my breath in advance and react involuntarily with his body? With your qualifications, it would be no problem to join other divisions. Why did you choose our 4th division? Quote. Looking at the dark-haired beauty who looked like a formidable enemy in front of him, Yi Cheng looked like Yamato Nadeshiko. He was obviously looking at Yi City with a smile on his face and asked, but Yi City felt a backache for no reason. Chill. Guys with squinting eyes are monsters. Even though the black-haired beauty in front of her looked like a gentle girl next door, she was deceived by her appearance. Yaho knew that the black-haired beauty in front of him was named Unohana Retsu, and she was one of the 4 longest-serving captains of the Gotei 13. She was even the one who formed the Gotei 13 by Mr. Yamamoto. The 1st team. The former Hana Retsu Uno was known as an unprecedented evil person in the history of Soul Society. Although the other party looks gentle and calm now, the number of people he killed with a knife in the past is enough to circle Soul Society. If he hadn't met a boy with the same monster, Unohana Retsu might still be the strongest and most ferocious Kenpachi. Answer my question, young man. With your level of strength, it would be more suitable for you to join the 11th division. Why did you choose our 4th division? Unohana Retsu looked at Yi City and asked as usual with a smile on her face, but anyone with a discerning eye could see that she had begun to emit powerful spiritual pressure, and the target of the pressure was the Night City in front of him. Yi Chang has suppressed and sealed his own spiritual pressure to a certain extent, and an average Shinigami should not be able to see any problems. But it was limited to ordinary Shinigami. For Kenpachi, who was once the strongest, Yojo's tricks obviously didn't have much effect in front of him. Of course, Uchiha Lai actually realized that Yi Chang had hidden strength, but she didn't know exactly how much was hidden. But Yi Chang's reaction to her sudden appearance just now convinced Uchiha Lai that Yi Chang's swordsmanship level was definitely not the above average standard on the information sheet. For a guy who hides his strength and wants to join his division, Unohana Retsu can't possibly ignore him. It has always been my dream to join the 4th Division. For this reason, I specially practice the return path at the Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy. As for the reason, I have always longed for the life of the 4th Division, and I admire Captain Unohana, which can be considered part of the reason. As for the issue of strength, please believe me, Captain Unohana. I really don't have any evil intentions, I just don't want to attract too much attention. If Captain Unohana doesn't believe it, he can take me to the Technology Development Bureau for spiritual pressure testing or surveillance. Quote. As soon as Yi Chang finished speaking, the powerful spiritual pressure receded like a tide. At this moment, not only was the black bun of Junyang Spiritual Arts Institute on Yi Chang's body soaked with cold sweat, but even the ground where his feet were standing was also soaked in cold sweat. He sank deeply into the ground, showing how strong the spiritual pressure he had just endured was. Miss Yongyan on the side was now completely limp and collapsed on the ground. Although Captain Unohana's spiritual pressure just now was not directed at her, just feeling the captain's pressure as powerful as the abyss was enough. As a newbie, she instantly lost her ability to resist. Not only did he hide his swordsmanship level, but he also concealed his spiritual pressure level. If you can withstand the spiritual pressure I just released, your spiritual pressure should not be weak anymore. What level has it reached specifically? Quote. Regarding what Yi Chang said, Uchiha Lai chose to believe it without too much doubt. It's not because Yi Chang is so handsome that his favorability level with Sister Hua was fully increased as soon as they met, but Unohana Retsu thinks that if Yi City is really sent from Hueco Mundo or other places, a spy shouldn't be able to find an undercover agent with such skill. And after living for thousands of years, Unohana Retsu believed that she still had the ability to read people and judge lies. She could also see just now that most of what Yi Chang said was true. At least what he said about the life of the 4th Division, and that he admired him must be true. Although Unohana Retsu didn't know why, when he said these words, the spiritual pressure on Yoroi's body was not there. There are obvious fluctuations. As for my swordsmanship, I'm actually quite confident, but of course I can't compare with Captain Unohana. As for the level of Reiatsu, I actually mastered the Zanpakudos, Haikai, a year ago. Quote. Hearing the truth revealed by Yi Chang, both Unohana Retsu in front of him and Yang Yin, who had just been frightened by Unohana Retsu's captain's spiritual pressure and collapsed to the ground, were extremely surprised at this moment. Expression. The Death God possesses a Zanpakudo, and the Zanpakudo is part of the Death God's soul and is an important means for the Death God to fight. Although the Zanpakudo in the hands of the God of Death always appeared in the form of a long sword at first, this is not the true form of the Zanpakudo. As we all know, the Zanpakudo is part of the soul of the Shinigami, and people's souls are different, so the Zanpakudo they manifest is naturally all kinds of weird. The first stage of liberation is the Zanpakudo's first stage of liberation. The Zanpakudo after its initial release has different abilities, and correspondingly enhances the Shinigami's own spiritual pressure. Don't underestimate the Haikai. The total number of Shinigami in the Gotei 13 team is only a few in 4 figures. However, the proportion of Shinigami who can free the Zanpakudo will never exceed 10%. A Shinigami who can free the Zanpakudo is basically considered an elite Shinigami. Even in the Gotei 13, he is qualified to serve as a chief officer. Under normal circumstances, it is impossible for a Shinigami without hundreds of years of experience to achieve the first level of Zanpakudo. However, Yashira is a 6th-generation student who has just graduated from Junu Spiritual Arts Academy. He has already mastered it before graduation. Reached the Zanpakudo Shikai. No wonder you wanted to hide your strength before. Once word spreads about you with such a talent in Soul Society, you should receive special attention. But are you really sure? With your qualifications, if you go to other divisions, you should be promoted faster. I can even recommend it to the captain and let you join the first division as an exception. Quote. A Shinigami who has already mastered the Shikai before graduation has not appeared in Soul Society for hundreds of years. Although the threshold for the first team is high, as long as he is not serving as the chief officer, Unohana Retsu feels that Yashura there is absolutely no problem if you want to join the first team. Thank you Captain Unohana for your kindness, but I still want to keep my original intention. My wish is to join the fourth team and become Akaku. Is that guy you said is worthy of a chop really here? Before Yi Cheng could say anything, a slightly excited and rough male voice came from outside the recruitment office of the 4th Division. Just by hearing the voice coming from outside and the name of the person in the words, Yi Cheng knew that trouble was coming. The person who walked into the recruiting office of the 4th Division was a tall man with a ferocious face, a scar on the left side of his face, an eye patch on his right eye, and his black hair was tied into strands like a hedgehog, with a knot at the ends. A man with bells. And on his shoulder, there was a pink-haired loli who looked no older than 10 years old and was wearing a small Death Tyrant outfit. As for those following this man, they were Madarame Akaku and Ayashikawa Yumashika, who had just joined the 11th Division. That guy from Yi City said before that he wanted to join the 4th team the most, so he should come here first. Facing his idol's questions, Akaku betrayed Yi City without any psychological burden as a bad friend. There is also Yumashika in Akaku, who actually knows Kenpachi Zaraki. After all, he was beaten up before in Rukongai. And God knows why Zaraki Kenpachi rushed to the scene on a whim for this recruitment work, but in short, when he saw Zaraki Kenpachi, Akaku was quite excited and directly challenged the opponent again. A newly graduated Shinigami trainee dared to challenge the man known as Kenpachi in the Soul Society. This was something that ordinary people would never dare to think about, but Akaku did it directly. Steel Ball Head believes that although he has not learned very well in Kido in the past few years at Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy, he has mastered other skills of slaying ghosts quite well. After systematic study, he is now much better than before in Rukongai, so when he saw his idol, he wanted to test how much he had grown over the years. Regardless of his identity as Kenpachi, or captain of the 11th Squadron, Zaraki Kenpachi is not someone that a new Shinigami can challenge if he wants. The captains of other divisions would probably turn a blind eye to Akaku's challenge, but Zaraki Kenpachi would not. He is a fighting maniac himself, and he does not have much awareness of his identity as a god of death. In other words, he came to Jinglingting because there are more guys worth killing here. Akaku remembers Kenpachi Zaraki, but Kenpachi Zaraki cannot remember Akaku's name, because the guys who can make Kenpachi remember his name are usually those who can make his blood boil, and apparently he suffered a tragic death in Rukongai. The Akaku and Yumashika he crushed had not yet reached this level. Faced with the challenge that came to him, looking at Akaku's fighting expression, Zaraki Kenpachi naturally had no reason to refuse the fight. Then a one-sided battle began. Although Akaku's spiritual pressure has grown a lot over the years, and he has learned more standardized swordsmanship and shunpo at the Mao Spiritual Arts Academy, in the face of Zaraki Kenpachi's absolute power, he still scored twice and was crushed. But this time, Akaku's strength barely made Zaraki Kenpachi a little more interested, and he wrote down his name. When he was defeated, a rather unwilling Akaku accidentally said Yashura's name, and said that if it was Yashura, he should be able to last longer in Zaraki Kenpachi's hands, and he might even be able to cut him. He said it carelessly, but listened with intention. After hearing Akaku's muttering, Zaraki Kenpachi's lips straightened up. Finally, he looked at Akaku and said excitedly, "What did you say?" "That guy named Yi Cheng, where is he now?" There are many guys worth killing in the Seraiti, but the Gote 13 also have rules. Private fights between captains are not allowed, because the captain-level spiritual pressure is too strong. Once a true fire is unleashed, it will cause harm to the Soul Society, cause certain impact. However, according to Akaku, the guy named Nan Yechung seems to be just a trainee Shinigami who just graduated this year, and is even stronger than Akaku. Since the opponent is not the captain, then the so-called rules will naturally not be a problem. If you can't kill the captain, it should be no problem to kill an ordinary Reaper. And this is the reason why people from the 11th Division appear at the 4th Division recruitment office at this moment. Zaraki Kenpachi swaggered into the recruiting office of the 4th Division, looking like a gangster, carrying a Zanpakuto on one shoulder, a pink-haired Lolita on the other, and 2 Guardian Vajra on the left and right. When he came in, he shouted loudly, "Who is this guy named Nan Yechung? Come out and fight with me." The new Shinigami Katetsu Yuin, who had never seen such a scene around Yi Chang, was frightened to death at this moment, although she had heard before that when recruiting new people, there would be competition among some divisions to grab people. But she never thought that the captain of the 11th Division would personally lead the team to snatch people. Should we say that we are worthy of being a combat team? This style of conduct can be described as unscrupulous. Captain Zaraki, this is the recruitment location for our 4th Division. What are you doing here? If there was only Yongyan in the recruitment department at this moment, facing the fierce Zaraki and his group, the young lady would have been frightened. But now the point is that there are not only Yongyan and Yashura here, but also what was once called the woman who is the most evil person in the history of Soul Society is also here. Zaraki Kenpachi and his team seemed to have a luxurious lineup, but Sister Wa still maintained a calm and composed attitude, squinting her eyes and smiling as she asked everyone in the 11th Division what their purpose was. Xiao Jian is here to find a person named Xiao Yi. He wants to fight with him. Hearing Unohana Retsu's inquiry, before Zaraki Kenpachi could speak, the pink-haired Lolita Yakiryu on his shoulder took the initiative to raise his hand. Vice Captain, the person we are looking for is called Yi Chang, not Xiao Yi. Hearing Yakiru's words, Akaku next to Zaraki Kenpachi kindly corrected him. However, it is a pity that the pink-haired Lolita did not appreciate it and gave nicknames to those who were interested. That was her interest, and Akaku did not. Loli's behavior obviously made her very unhappy. Shut up, little steel ball head, don't interrupt me, bah. Yi Zhao was paralyzed. Not only did he not receive any gratitude for correcting him, he was even nicknamed a little steel ball head. Even his head, which was waxed and cared for carefully every day, was spat on. How could he bear it? Yumishin, don't stop me, I'm going to kill this arrogant loli. For bald heads, a shiny bald head is their dignity, but now their dignity is being trampled on. Even if Akaku has never bullied women and children, he can't bear it now. Calm down, Akaku, what the vice captain said was unintentional, and we may not be able to defeat her. What Yumashika said was not only a comfort, but also a fact. Yakiru seemed to be just a little fool, but he did have the real ability of a vice captain. When Akaku challenged Kenpachi Zaraki before, Yumashika was also curious about why the deputy captain of the 11th Division was a child, so he thought of giving it a try, but before he could take action, Yakiru's figure appeared. It appeared behind him like a ghost. Captain Zaraki is the captain of the 11th Division, right, and Nanyachung is just a student who has just graduated from the Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy. With the gap in status between you, a fight should be illegal, right? If it is a training in the team, and the captain trains the members of his own team, then it is a normal training for the team members, but I remember that Nan Yechung is not a member of Captain Zaraki's team, right? Quote. Seeing Unohana Retsu smiling like Yamato Nadeshiko in front of him, Zaraki Kenpachi showed an expression of disgust from the bottom of his heart. It's not that Zaraki Kenpachi hates Unohana Retsu this person, but Zaraki Kenpachi hates the current Unohana Retsu. Many people in the Seraiti may not know that Kenpachi Zaraki and Retsu Unohana are old acquaintances. Kenpachi Zaraki was born in Zaraki District, Rukongai 80, the worst public security area in North Rukongai. He was originally a nameless civilian, but later took Zaraki as his surname. And when the first captain of the 11th Squadron, Unohana Retsu, accompanied her subordinates to the outskirts of Rukongai in order to find a strong general that she liked, the sight that greeted her eyes was actually a mountain of dozens of people who had died under Kenpachi's sword, corpses of civilians in Rukongai. Unohana wanted to step forward for a closer inspection, but Zaraki Kenpachi suddenly jumped out and stabbed him below the collarbone with a knife. The two sides then started a fierce decisive battle at the scene. In the end, Zaraki Kenpachi was stabbed on the left side of his face by the opponent with a knife. This is the origin of Unohana Retsu's collarbone scar and Zaraki Kenpachi's left cheek scar. In that battle, Zaraki Kenpachi experienced the fear and joy of fighting for the first time, because he was afraid that losing such an enemy would lose the fun of fighting. Therefore, in order to match Unohana Retsu's strength, he subconsciously weakened himself to the same level as the enemy. No one knows the final result of that battle, but judging from the result, Unohana Retsu should be considered a loser, because at that time, Kenpachi Zaraki had been suppressing his own strength in the fight. Of course, Unohana Retsu at that time did not liberate the Zanpakuto, but fought Zaraki Kenpachi in a shallow fighting stance. But even so, Unohana Retsu at that time was known as the strongest, first-generation Kenpachi, and a woman known as the 8000 Ryu for her strong swordsmanship. But in the end, her strength had to be suppressed by a boy before she could barely do it. Evenly matched. And it was also after that Unohana Retsu, who returned from Rukongai, voluntarily resigned from the captaincy of the 11th Division, believing that he was not worthy of the title of Kenpachi, the strongest swordsman, and his personality changed drastically. He also became the captain of the 4th Division and remains in this position to this day. Zaraki Kenpachi does not hate Unohana Retsu, he even admires him. The reason why he became a god of death and came to Seraiti is largely due to the influence of Unohana Retsu. But Zaraki Kenpachi hates the current Unohana Retsu, because he knows that the other party has been pretending. He is obviously just like himself, with a crazy beast person living in his body, but Unohana Retsu imprisoned the beast. He was imprisoned and faced the world with his hypocrisy face. Tisk, that's really troublesome. That one called Nanye City, you haven't officially joined the 4th Division yet, right? Why don't you come directly to our 11th Division? I heard from Akaku that you are also a guy from North Rukongai, and you are pretty good at it. You have two choices now. The first is to join the 11th Division and fight with me legitimately. This way we can both save a lot of trouble. I am too lazy to listen to the old man's nagging. There is another option, that is, even if you join the 4th team, I will still fight with you. Anyway, as long as you are still alive, the worst I can do is to be punished by the old man, and I don't care anymore. Quote. Hearing Zaraki Kenpachi's words, which were almost no different from a threat, the expression on Yi Cheng's face suddenly froze, and he also used his peripheral vision to look at a certain bald man opposite him. And a certain bald head in the opposite group probably felt guilty at the moment. He didn't dare to look directly into Yi Cheng's eyes, so he lowered his head and responded to Yi Cheng with his bright bald head. Captain Zaraki, this god of death called Nanyacheng, has decided to join our 4th Division, and your current behavior has clearly crossed the line. Can I regard your current behavior as your 11th Squadron provoking our 4th Squadron? Quote. Sister Wa looks gentle and elegant, but in fact she has never been a good-tempered person. She has a wild beast in her heart, and it is common for her to go dark from time to time. She tried to persuade the other party but turned a blind eye, and now even threatens the reserve members of her team in front of her. If Unohana Retsu continues to remain indifferent, then she will not be the strongest Kenpachi ever. Interesting, wouldn't it be more exciting if you were willing to be my fighting opponent? It's been a long time since I've seen this powerful spiritual pressure. Originally, my purpose in coming to this Jingling Ting was not to be a Shinigami, but now it seems that I can get my wish. Quote. Ding 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 ding. As the spiritual pressure radiated from Unohana Retsu's body, the bell tied to Kenpachi Zaraki's hair began to jingle and jingle. Due to his special physical condition, Zaraki Kenpachi's own spiritual pressure is extremely powerful, but he does not have the ability to sense spiritual pressure, so he made his hair into bunches of hedgehogs and tied bells at the ends of his hair. The purpose of this is to judge the strength of the opponent's spiritual pressure through the swing of the bell, and to judge how much strength one should exert in order to happily fight with the opponent. And when he saw the bell at the tip of his hair swinging wildly as if in a strong wind, Zaraki Kenpachi also showed an extremely excited and fighting expression. Obviously, the strength of the spiritual pressure that Unohana Retsu is now bursting out makes him extremely satisfied, and even makes his blood boil after a long time. So without any hesitation, Zaraki Kenpachi reached out and pulled off the eye patch on his right eye that was used to seal the spiritual pressure. As soon as the blindfold that sealed the spiritual pressure was lifted, the spiritual pressure on Zaraki Kenpachi suddenly burst out like a tide. The spiritual pressure, which was so powerful that it seemed to be substantial, turned directly into a golden cylinder. From the recruitment office of the 4th Division, soaring into the sky. Unohana Retsu's original intention was not to conflict with Kenpachi Zaraki and the others, but the powerful spiritual pressure erupted by Kenpachi Zaraki at this moment made her fighting spirit that she had been immersed in for many years seem to be ignited. So when she reacted, she was shocked to find that a corresponding spiritual pressure column also erupted from her body. Two powerful waves of Captain's spiritual pressure collided with each other. The huge spiritual pressure seemed to turn into a wave, and Yi Cheng and others were like several small boats in the wave that could be capsized at any time. In the collision between these two extremely strong spiritual pressures, Yi Cheng and Yachenliu were in good condition. Although they were also affected, because it was not aimed at them and their spiritual pressure was not weak, they were still in good condition at this moment. Can stay natural. Akaku and Yumashika are not weak in spiritual pressure, but they are newbies who have just left the Mao Spiritual Arts Academy. They have seen such high-end games there, so at this moment, the two of them are being bent over, their faces are red and they are trying to straighten up. As for Katetsu Yun's words, the young lady had completely given up resistance and was lying on the ground. Yumiuchika, it's normal for the captain to have such strong spiritual pressure. After all, he is the captain of the combat division. But isn't the 4th division a medical squad? Why does Captain Unohana have such powerful spiritual pressure? Quote. At this moment, Zaraki Kenpachi was very excited. Originally, he just wanted to come here to find an opponent worth killing, but he never expected that he would have the opportunity to compete with the opponent of his dreams. Ding! The spiritual pressure has been released and the aura has been filled up. Zaraki Kenpachi is too lazy to say more nonsense. The straw sandals on his feet instantly make a big hole on the opposite side. The huge reaction force also causes Kenpachi's body to be like a thunderbolt. A general burst of fire. The blade in his hand had become jagged due to hundreds of battles. At this moment, with a powerful and heavy posture, he slashed at the position where Unohana Retsu was. Faced with Zaraki Kenpachi's downward slash, Unohana also drew out the Zanpakudo from her waist at the same moment and blocked it with her sword horizontally. Just such an extremely ordinary collision of blades, but a destructive wind blew up between the two. Not only did the recruitment point set up by the 4th Squadron be blown away in an instant, but the huge impact also caused the ground where the two of them were standing began to crack instantly and spread outwards. Because the place they were currently at was the Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy's conference venue, the commotion caused here naturally quickly attracted other melon-eating people. A battle between two captains. This kind of battle is not something that can be seen under ordinary circumstances. Yi Cheng watched the fight between the two, Kenpachi, from the side. While sighing at the strength of the two, he secretly inserted himself into it and simulated the battle in his mind with his own strength. However, this Kenpachi battle cannot last long after all, because this is the Mao Spiritual Arts Academy, and the spiritual pressure that Zaraki Kenpachi and Unohana Retsu have previously erupted has not been concealed at all, so soon the second team responsible for the investigation naturally arrived. The current captain of the 2nd Division is not the bee-smashing girl from A, but the black-skinned Queen Yoichi. When Unohana Retsu and Zaraki Kenpachi exploded with spiritual pressure in the Seraiti, she thought that the Seraiti had encountered an enemy. However, she never thought that there was no enemy. It was actually the captain of the Gote 13 who was having an internal conflict. Lord Yoruichi, Captain Zaraki, the captain of the 11th Division, and Captain Unohana of the 4th Division, have violated the regulations of the Seraiti. Why don't we go up and stop them? At this moment, Zaiho is already a member of the 2nd Division, and because his family has been a retainer of the Shifunjin family for generations, he has been admiring girl A for Yoruichi since he was a child, and has even been gradually turned away. Posture. Stop. Such an interesting thing. No, I mean the strength of Captain Zaraki and Captain Unohana. Even among all the captains, they are among the best. With my own strength, I am afraid that there's no way to stop them. Although Yoruichi is the eldest daughter of the Shifuin family, one of the 4 noble families in the Soul Society, she has been cynical since she was a child, and she has no airs at all. She likes to tease people and even enjoy having fun. After confirming that there was no foreign enemy invading Jinglingting, she was eager to watch the civil war between the two Kenpachi. Unfortunately, she didn't know the situation before, so before rushing over, she reported the situation to the captain. Two captain-level spiritual pressures suddenly burst out in the Seraiti, which naturally attracted the attention of many parties. Therefore, not long after the fastest Yoruichi arrived, Yamamoto Genryu, the captain of the Gotei 13th team, Sai Shigekuni rushed here with the captains of other divisions. Stop. You are all the captains of the Gotei 13, and this is also the Shino Spiritual Arts Academy where Shinigami are trained. How unbecoming are you doing this? Although Mr. Yamamoto is old, his aura is still full. With a tap of the cane in his hand, the powerful aura instantly enveloped the surroundings, so much so that the battle between Kenpachi Zaraki and Retsu Unohana had to be forcibly suspended. After seeing the captain rushing here with all the captains, Ujiha Lai calmly put away his sword and stood with his hands in front of him, looking gentle and virtuous, as if he was a fighting madman just now and had nothing to do with her. Nothing. As for Zaraki Kenpachi, after glancing at the captain and others, he also said with a disappointed look on his face, I didn't expect the troublesome guy to come so quickly. I obviously haven't started to enjoy myself yet. The cause and effect of the matter are not complicated. When they learned that the reason why Zaraki Kenpachi and Unohana Retsu were fighting was just because of a cute Shinigami who had just graduated from the Mao Spiritual Arts Academy, the captain and other captains he couldn't help but look at Yi Cheng curiously. Of course, it was just a glance. To the captain and the captains of other divisions, Yi Cheng was just a little shrimp. There are thousands of Shinigami in Jingalingting. If it weren't for this incident, they wouldn't even remember the name of a trainee Shinigami in Night City. Kenpachi Zaraki, the captain of the 11th Division, broke into the recruitment office of the 4th Division without authorization and deliberately provoked him. He was imprisoned for 3 months on the grounds of disrupting the order of the Seraiti. The captain of the 4th Division, Karatsu Uno, was forced to challenge, but his handling of the matter was inappropriate, so he returned to the team building to face the wall for 3 days. Quote, after dealing with the two captains who disrupted order, the captain also looked at Yi Cheng, who was lying down and shot. Ever since he knew that the world he was traveling through was the world of death, Yi Cheng's principle was to keep a low profile and avoid attracting attention as much as possible before he had absolute strength. However, after this incident, Yi Cheng found out helplessly that even if he didn't want to attract attention, he would probably become a topic of conversation tomorrow. Two captains fought over a team member regardless of Jingling Ting's rules. Although everyone who knows Kenpachi Zaraki and Retsu Unohana knows that the two would want to fight like that, the incident in Yoro City only accounts for a very small part of the reason. It is just because the two fighting maniacs got together. And my hands were itchy at the same time. If one of the two was replaced by another captain, this battle would probably not be fought at all. As for what you said, Chunshui, let us leave him to the 8th Division to take over. After looking at Yi City with slightly narrowed eyes, the captain finally made this decision. Among the captains, Kyoraku Shunsui, who originally smiled the most happily, was stunned when he heard the captain's words. Those who can become captains are all human beings. The captain present now does not know that this god of death named Nanyachung is a hot potato. Whoever takes over will be unlucky. This is not to say that there is anything wrong with the Night City itself, but that Unohana Retsu and Zaraki Kenpachi had a big fight because of the Night City. Now that the god of death is on his team, doesn't it mean that he has to offend two troublesome people at the same time? Fighting mania. The captain made such a decision after careful consideration. Regardless of whether Yashura is assigned to the 11th Division or the 4th Division, it will cause Unohana Retsu and Zaraki Kenpachi to be unhappy, and maybe they will be unhappy again. It will cause some unnecessary trouble. Therefore, for the sake of safety, it is best to arrange Yi Cheng into other divisions. As for why I chose Jingaku Shunsui, on the one hand, it was because this guy had the most fun watching the show just now, and his teeth almost reached his cheeks. On the other hand, it is because the captain also believes in Kyoraku Shunsui's strength. If Unohana Retsu or Zaraki Kenpachi come looking for trouble, there are really not many captains here who can withstand it. The other captains also saw the captain's intention, so at this moment they all sent their blessings to Jingaku Shunsui. Congratulations, congratulations, the new Shinigami who can make Captain Unohana and Captain Zaraki fight, there must be something good about him. Congratulations to Captain Kyoko's 8th Division for gaining another strong general. It's such a pity. I wanted to ask for someone just now, but I didn't expect. Since it was the captain's order, there is nothing we can do. Looking at the squad captains who were adding insult to injury and saying things that were against their will, Kyoryu Shunsui's face almost twisted. Then he glanced at Yi Cheng again, and suddenly felt unbalanced in his heart. If Yi Cheng was a beauty, even if it would cause some trouble, Kyoryu Shunsui wouldn't mind accepting her. But the key point is that this guy in Yi City is not a beauty, but a handsome guy, and his good looks even make him, Kyoraku Shunsui, avoid him by 3 points and bring her back to his 8th team, so how will he, Kyoraku Shunsui, seduce girls in the future? I don't know why in recent years, those young girls have begun to like handsome Obamas. In the past, it was melancholy uncles like me who were more popular. Captain, our 8th Division team members are currently at saturation, and we don't need new members for the time being. When I was drinking with Jashiro a while ago, I heard him say that his 13th Division was short of personnel, so why not let this god of death go to the 13th Division? Quote. After hearing Kyoraku Shunsui's words, the captain glanced at the banner at the recruitment office of Division 8 in the conference venue. The recruitment slogan written on it at the moment is, the 8th Division is recruiting new recruits and is in urgent need of a large number of talents who are good at gathering intelligence. 3 meals a day will be included, good benefits, low risk factor, and priority will be given to young female Shinigami. Ahem, cough, Captain, since it is not convenient for the 8th Division to accept this god of death, then let him come to our 13th Division. As Chun Shui said, our 13th Division is indeed facing a manpower shortage problem. If he is willing to come to our 13th Division, it will really be a big help. Quote. After hearing what Yukitaki said, Kyoraku Shunsui immediately showed a satisfied look on his face, and he even carelessly put his arm around Yukitaki's shoulders who was coughing. In fact, he had known for a long time that his good friend Yukitaki would help him take over, and this god of death called Nanye City was a hot potato no matter which division he was in, but not to Yukitaki. As we all know, Yukitaki Jashiro is a good old man in the entire Soul Society. Not only is he the first captain of the Shino Spiritual Academy since its founding, but Yukitaki is also very popular, and due to his frailty, even Unohana no matter who Retsu or Zaraki Kenpachi troubles, they won't trouble Yukitaki. If this is the case, then this god of death called Nanye City will be collected by the 13th Division. As for the punishment of the captain of the 4th Division and the 11th Division captain, it can also be implemented. Yukitaki Jashiro and Kyoraku Shunsui are both students of the captain, and the captain has already known about their characters. Yukitaki is very popular and very responsible, so having this matter handled by him really makes him feel more at ease. It's just that Kyoraku Shunsui laughed too much before, and Yukitaki was frail and sick, so the captain didn't want to embarrass Yukitaki too much. A farce came to an end. Yi Cheng himself did not expect that. He just wanted to find a pension team to join, but in the end he caused such a big disturbance. Fortunately, he was unable to join the 4th team that he most wanted, but in the end, he got his wish and entered the second choice team, the 13th team. The captain of the 13th Division, Yukitaki Jashiro, is also one of the most powerful among the captains, and he is also a good guy. He was originally one of Yi Cheng's favorite divisions. Although there was no way to get close contact with Sister Hua, and the girls in Division 13 were far less numerous than those in Division 4, he didn't seem to have much choice in the situation just now. Your name is Nanya-chung, right? Ahem, come back to the team building of the 13th Division with me, you will be a member of our 13th Division from now on. Our 13th Division is also called the Purification Team, and our duty is to purify the souls that have become hollow due to corruption in Rukongai, ahem. In the setting of the world of death, people will appear in the form of spiritual bodies after death, and a chain will appear on their chests. Once there are extreme mood swings, or they stay in this world for too long, they will become the so-called virtual. Rukongai has a large number of wandering souls, so sometimes, virtual souls suddenly appear. In addition, a large number of ordinary people die every day in the world, and soul burial is performed on the souls in the world. These are the responsibilities of the 3rd Division. Yukitaki Jashiro was walking in front, coughing and being in a weak state, which made Yi Cheng fear that the other person might suddenly faint and fall to the ground while walking. But it is undeniable that Yukitaki Jashiro's own strength is indeed one of the best in Soul Society. Not only does he possess the only 3 pairs of Zanpakuto Shikai in Soul Society, his true identity, and even the right arm of the Soul King incarnates. Captain, are you back? How is the situation at the Shingen Spiritual Arts Academy? Has Vastad from Hueco Mundo invaded? When they arrived at the team building of the 13th Division, a man with black hair, dark smoky blue eyes, long lower eyelashes, and tattoos on his exposed shoulders took the initiative to greet Yukitaki and Yoroi. He came up and spoke. The hollows in Hueco Mundo are divided into 4 levels, namely low-level hollows, Great Hollows Killian, Yachukas, and Vastad. Among them, the Great Hollow of the Vastad level is said to have already reached the level of combat power. His strength is comparable to that of the captain of the Gote 13. Even ordinary captains are sometimes no match for Vastad. After all, Vastad is almost a virtual ceiling. It not only has a unique virtual flash, but also has extremely hard steel skin and the ability to regenerate at high speed. The intensity of the spiritual pressure that had erupted from the Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy had undoubtedly reached the captain level. The only thing Shiba Heian could think of was that a Toshwad-level Daxu would invade the Seraiti. Actually, there was a little conflict between Captain Unohana of the 4th Division and Captain Zaraki of the 11th Division. Ahem, I'll talk to you in detail when I have time. And this is Nan Yechung, the newcomer who has recently joined our team. Please explain to him the responsibilities of our 13th Division and some precautions. Quote, Yechung, this is Shiba Heian, the vice captain of our 13th Division. Heian is a kind-hearted and loyal man who is admired and respected by many team members. If you don't understand something, just ask him. Quote, Yukitaki was originally a deadbeat due to his frailty and illness. If it hadn't been for this unexpected situation, he would have basically been a loser. An ordinary captain would not say so many things to a mere newcomer, but Yukitaki has the character of a good old man, and Yi Cheng is also one of the victims this time, so he is given special care. Now that Shiba Heian is here to take over, Yukitaki can't wait to run back to his team building to rest. Don't worry about whether the captain has any objections to you or anything. Because of his physical condition, Captain Yukitaki seldom manages the captain's important matters. We, as subordinates, have always handled it. My name is Shiba Heian. In fact, I was recently promoted to the vice captain of the 13th Division. Before that, I was only in the 3rd position. Thank you for your advice. Quote, no, I'm going to ask Vice Captain Zibo for advice. I'm the new guy who just joined the team today, Nanyachung. This was the first time Yi Cheng and Shiba Heian met, and it was also the first time Yi Cheng understood the tragic character of Shiba Heian. Dividing line. Time passed by in a hurry. 2 years after becoming a member of the 13th Division in Night City, Yukitaki Jashiro, the captain of the 13th Division, once again had to leave his retirement resort due to an urgent captain meeting and went to a place again. Team meeting. Yechung, why do you think the captain convened the captain's meeting in a hurry? The person standing next to Yi Cheng and asking was Shiba Heian, the vice captain of the 13th Division. 2 years later, Yi Cheng and Shiba Heian established a pretty good friendship. Shiba Heian was originally one of the 5 nobles in the Soul Society and the contemporary head of the Shiba family, but it was just because of the decline of the family. There was not much description of Shiba Heian in the original plot, but after 2 years of contact, Yashura discovered that there was a reason why the octopus-headed Rukia admired Heian so much. Shiba Heian, who was born into a noble family, could treat every member of the team equally regardless of his status or status. Because of his fair attitude, both the team members from noble families and those from Rukongai are very fond of him. Moreover, Heian is also a genius. She completed the 6-year course at Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy in just 1 year. He entered the current 13th Division as a 3rd-seat player at the beginning, and then was promoted to vice captain in just 5 years. No matter which way you look at it, with Heian's talents, connections, and personality, it is almost certain that she will take over the position of captain of Yukitaki's 13th Division in a few decades. In the past 2 years, Heian, relying on her observation skills that are stronger than ordinary people, also discovered the special features of Night City. Out of concern for the newcomers, Heian initially planned to provide intensive training to Yi Cheng, but during the sparring exercises, he discovered Yi Cheng's hidden true strength. After learning about Yi Cheng's concern, Heian did not laugh at Yi Cheng's unfounded worries or persecution paranoia like Akaku and Yumashika did, but smiled to show her understanding. Soul Society may appear to be calm on the surface, but in reality there are undercurrents. Heian, who was once one of the 5 nobles, knows this best. And he also believes that being cautious is not a bad thing. In the past, his wife Sheba was killed by Shu because of his carelessness. P.S. I see that many people are confused. It's not that they haven't read the original plot. The reason why Heian's wife arranged for her to die early is because I want her to be resurrected later. Over the years, Heian has always felt that there was something fishy about his wife's death. Logically speaking, his wife was the 3rd member of the team, and the elite Shinigami who had mastered the Hake. How could she be killed by the subordinate Shu who appeared in Rukongai? It's an incredible thing in itself. I received some gossip that a large number of soul disappearing incidents suddenly occurred in Rukongai. The captain of the 9th team, Captain Rokusha Kensai, and the deputy team, Kubu Nanbai, went to investigate, but it seemed that something unexpected happened. The captain and deputy captain are already the top combat power of Jinglingting. Now that a situation has arisen, the captain will naturally hold a captain meeting. It is estimated that the number of captains sent to investigate this time will be even greater. Quote, Heian was not surprised by the gossip that Yakung received. Yakung, who was born in Rukongai, seemed to be quite well connected in a place like Rukongai where everyone was mixed. Moreover, in the Battle of the Gote 13, Yoroki's popularity was also very good. His Heian's popularity was only good in the 13th division, but Yoroki's popularity was quite popular even in the Gote 13. This is not something difficult to understand. Yi Cheng is a time traveler after all. Although he has not discovered his cheat yet, he knows the plot and has an understanding of the characters in these worlds. As long as he likes them, it is not difficult to build good relationships with people. Rukongai's collective collapse. This matter can't be related to the matter I asked you to help investigate the capital, right? Heian's expression suddenly became serious when she heard that Rukongai had experienced collective blurring. It was not unusual for the souls of Rukongai to occasionally blur. But generally, the hollows that appear in Rukongai are just lower-level hollows. It's okay to bully a newcomer who just graduated from the Shingen Spiritual Academy, but killing his wife, who is the 3rd seat, and now even the captain and deputy captain of the 9th team if they are all missing, then the situation is obviously abnormal. Probably not. After all, the time between these 2 events is quite long. Hearing Heian's guess, Yi Cheng couldn't help but admire the other party's keen intuition. He wanted to say that he was right. These 2 things were actually caused by a hairspray boss behind his back. Whether it is the captain and vice captain of Division 9, or Shiba Heian's wife, they are all victims of Boss Aizen Sosuke's experiment. But now he can't reveal his broken promise because he can't explain clearly. If he says these secret words, he might be the one who is imprisoned and investigated by the criminal army. And although Heian's current strength is good, going to Rukongai now is a dead end. For this so-called captain meeting, even if Yi Cheng was not present, he knew that the captain would send the captain of the 3rd Division, Rojiro, the captain of the 5th Division, Mako Hiriko, the 7th Division's Ritake Kawa, and the 8th Division's deputy captain, Yadomaru Lisa, Hiyori of the 12th Division, and Akita Hakigan, the deputy ghost master of the ghosts, formed a special operations team to investigate. There is no doubt that even this captain-level combat force will eventually be thrown into the street in front of Aizen's Zanpakudo, Kyoka Suigetsu, and become a test subject for his death god's hollow. With so many captains and vice-captains on the streets, Yi Cheng didn't think that adding Heian as a vice-captain could change the outcome, so he naturally tried to dissuade the other party from going to Rukongai to die. After the captain meeting ended, Jashiro Yukitaki also explained the situation to Heian when he returned to the team building, and what happened was just as Yi Cheng knew. A group of people led by Mako Hiriko formed a special force and went to the location of the incident. Investigation. The lineup of 3 captains and 3 vice-captains made everyone, including the chief captain, believe that this investigation should be a sure thing. However, the facts proved that without much external interference, the plot did not change much. Hiriko Mako and the others still jumped on the street, and were slandered as traitors by Aizen's design. Because Urahara Kazuki, the smartest man in Soul Society, realized something was wrong in advance and used Bengyoku to save Hiriko Mako and his group, but he was framed together with Shifun Yoruichi and escaped to the present world at the same time. The virtualized Hiriko Mako and others established the so-called Mask Force, and the Gotei 13 also ushered in the weakest stage in history. Masked Forces took away a total of 4 captains and vice-captains, plus Yoichi Shihoin of the 2nd Division and Urahara Kazuki of the 12th Division, and then Shiba Izshin of the 10th Division, who later became Izshin Kurosaki, will also be stationed in this world. In other words, the 13 captains of the Gotei 13 lost more than half of their combat effectiveness due to Aizen's operations. And as Urahara Kazuki and the others fled to the present world, a large number of vacancies in division captains appeared, and they were replaced by some fresh blood from each division in a short period of time. The second team was taken over by Zanfei, the girl from Duie. The hairspray boss of the 5th team came online as expected. The Technical Development Bureau of the 12th team was replaced by the original Deputy Director Ni Yuli. As for the remaining divisions, due to the lack of seniority of Ichimaru Jin, Tosen Kanami, and Hokumura Zojun, they are not able to directly replace the captain's position for the time being. In the Yugon Hall of the 13th Division's team building, Yukitaki Jashiro and Yashiro were sitting opposite each other. 2 years have passed. Although Yukitaki stays at home all year round due to his physical condition, the team's affairs are usually handled by Heian. However, Yukitaki doesn't completely ignore the team's affairs. He has seen Yi Cheng's performance and improvement in the past 2 years. Putting aside the aspect of strength, Yi Cheng's behavior and efficiency are not like that of a trainee Shinigami who has just graduated from the Shingen Spiritual Arts Academy. Heian is a genius. When he first entered the 13th Division, he became the 3rd member of the 13th Division. Although Yi Cheng was not as good as his opponent, in 2 years, he also made it to the 5th position of the 13th Division. Originally, this seat could be promoted to a higher level, but Yi Cheng himself refused it many times. The reason is that the 3rd and 4th seats in their team are all cute girls, and Yi Cheng doesn't want to take advantage of others, but in fact, Yi Cheng thinks that the identity of the 5th seat is already very suitable for his current status. If the position is too high, it is easy to be regarded as a guinea pig and be noticed by some big bosses. However, if the position is too low, it is easy to become the so-called cannon fodder. Therefore, from Yi Cheng's point of view, the 5th seat is just right. Good. Yuchi, I think you have heard about what happened to the Gotei 13 recently. Nowadays, there are a large number of personnel vacancies in the 3rd Division, 5th Division, 7th Division, and still 9th Division. Putting aside the position of captain for the moment, the captain asked if there were suitable candidates in other teams. When I went to serve as deputy captain or chief officer in these teams, I thought of you. I wonder what you think. Quote, if you want to become the vice captain, you must at least master the first Kai, and have a certain level of spiritual pressure. But as far as I know, no matter which one it is, you should have reached the standard long ago. You and Heian usually go to Laifushin in Nishirukangai to practice. Quote, after hearing what Captain Yukitaki said, Yi Cheng understood why the captain was so cautious in talking to him today. He was preparing to recommend him to become the vice captain of another division. Let's not talk about the 7th Division for now. The 3rd Division, the 5th Division and the 9th Division, these divisions can go to them casually. Captain, I just want to stay in Division 13. This is my wish, and I don't think that with my current strength, I am qualified for the position of deputy captain. Just kidding, the reason why Yi Cheng keeps a low profile is to avoid attracting the attention of the boss legion. Where else does Yukitaki plan to push himself? Is he trying to force himself to rebel? The hairspray boss has a charming personality, and his eloquence is top-notch. His attitude towards his subordinates is not to say very good, but at least he is not ruthless. However, the key point of the problem is that his opponent is a famous cheater. Aikigu, who has the blood of the 3 major bloodlines of Death, Hollow, and Quincy. If he cannot defeat him, he will cheat. As the biological son of the world, he cannot use common sense to judge. If you become a vice captain, the treatment will be very different from that of a captain. And with your talent, you might be able to become the captain one day. It is not an easy matter for a member of the Gotei 13 to change teams. If it weren't for the special circumstances this time, there might not be such an opportunity in the future. Do you really decide to give up? Quote, looking at Yojo in front of him, who was both good-looking and had a great personality, Yukitaki was really puzzled. Most Shinigami who joined the Gotei 13th Division would work hard to climb up with the goal of becoming vice captain or captain. But now it was clear that the opportunity to become the vice captain was within easy reach, but Yi Cheng in front of him was trying to shirk the opportunity in every possible way. The same was true for Heian before. If he hadn't taken the initiative to invite him to become the vice captain, he would probably still be practicing hard at Laifushin in Nishi Rukongai. Could it be said that their 13th division is destined to produce salted fish? One of his captains is the boss every day due to physical reasons, and he has ruined the atmosphere in the team. So now no one in the team is motivated, and they just want to lie down every day. In that case, let's discuss this matter later, and there is one more thing I want you to do. According to intelligence, a large number of souls have appeared in a real city called Ukyocho recently. The Technology Development Bureau passed the spiritual pressure test and found that there may be hollows in that city. By devouring a large number of souls, they grew into great hollow Killian, so I need you. Go over and deal with it. Quote. Yi Cheng knows what Yukitake said. After all, he is also the 5th seed of the 13th division. But as far as he knows, someone should handle this matter, so he said at this moment, the matter in Yukio Town is not caused by San will Senior, she handle it. Why? The strength of Lingchuan's 3 seats is certainly good, but they have no experience in fighting Daxu, so I think it is safer to let you go. Originally, it would be safest to let Heian go through, but the Jingling Ting has regulations. In order to avoid causing too much damage to the world, the spiritual pressure of those who are at the level of deputy captain or above will be limited and sealed when passing through the world gate. Only 1/5 of the spiritual pressure can be exerted. Quote. When he heard what Yukitake said, Yi Cheng was speechless. As the vice captain, he understood that it was impossible for Heian to go to the present world casually, but the 3 seats he faced had no experience in fighting Daxu. Did he have it? It has only been 2 years since I graduated from the Shingen Spiritual Arts Academy, so he is a genuine newbie, okay. Chapter 11. But Captain, compared to Lingchuan Sanshi, I am the real newcomer, and I have no experience fighting Daxu. Don't think that going out to work is a good job. Not only can you eat and drink at public expense, but you can also travel around. In fact, Soul Society requires a lot of procedures to go to the living world. After returning, you have to report all kinds of things. Apart from that, you don't understand anything. Daotuking, otherwise few gods of death would be willing to appear in this world. Well, you have said it before, the 3rd seat of Lingchuan is a woman after all, and Heian also strongly recommended you, saying that there is no problem at all with your strength. The reason why Yi Cheng was suddenly asked to take over this task was actually not because the so-called Lingchuan Sanshi was a young lady, so Yukitake took special care of her, nor was it Heian's special recommendation to Yi Cheng. But in the conversation just now, Yukitake found that Yi Cheng was too salty. He was obviously a highly regarded young man in the team, and how could it be that he looked like he was ready to retire? Yi Cheng came out of Yukontang with a troubled expression on his face. Originally, he had invited Rangju to drink together tonight. The big-breasted girl was in the same class as him. One of them entered the 13th division, and the other entered the 10th division. Recently, because the 10th division lost its captain, a lot of duties fell on her alone. The girl often borrowed the money at night. Drinking to relieve sorrow vents dissatisfaction in the workplace. Rangaku only had a few close friends in Soul Society, and Yoshitaka could barely be considered one of his best friends. Rangaku's wine quality was extremely poor, and she would often pretend to be drunk to avoid paying for it. She asked for a treat 10 times, but in the end, at least 9 times, it was Yicheng who paid back the money, but Yicheng was quite happy to drink with Rangju. Without him, because the other party is broad-minded, even the loose Death Overlord uniform cannot stop His Majesty, and Rangaku drinks with a bold attitude, so he will give Yi City many surprises and benefits from time to time. After completing various complicated procedures, Yi Cheng was finally ready to leave for the real world. For the 13th Division as the Purification Team, it is not uncommon to go to the real world. Even the Shinigami stationed in every city are actually members of their 13th Division. The god of death's body is composed of spirit sons, and the present world also has certain spirit sons. Therefore, when the god of death travels to the present world, it usually only needs the death soul butterfly and the realm-penetrating gate to guide the way. The world-traveling gate in Soul Society is a tall gable-style building with two towering square wooden piles in front of the door. However, when the world-traveling gate appeared in the present world, it was just a simple wooden pull-out door. Just a door. Regarding this mission to the real world, Yi City actually didn't feel much pressure. Although Daksu Kilian could torture most newcomers to death, with his current strength, it was more than enough to kill a virtual of this level. However, what surprised Yi Cheng was that when he entered the world-crossing gate, he felt a strong sense of uneasiness. A few minutes later, Yi Shiro, who was holding his Zanpakudo, looked at the dim passage he was in and the Jutu that was almost close at hand, and his expression became quite ugly. It is not completely unexpected for the god of death to use the boundary gate. After all, it is a means of transportation that connects two worlds. If there is a slight mistake in positioning, there will occasionally be some problems, such as the border break, where Night City is now. The so-called breaking world is the gap between the present world and Soul Society, a space surrounded by the torrent of time. Because several layers of cut-off spaces overlap and are surrounded by the torrent of time, the time density inside is overwhelmingly high compared to the outside world. When converted into numbers, it is about 2,000 times. In other words, the speed of time here is that 2,000 years have passed here, while only 1 year has passed outside. And this is not the most troublesome thing. There are flow and interruption in the world. Generally speaking, when a god of death encounters death, there will be no life. Jutu appears only once every 7 days. It is equivalent to the scavenger in the world. It does not rely on spiritual pressure to survive. When it appears, it will destroy all materials blocking its orbit. The god of death has absolutely nothing to do with Jutu, because this thing itself is the nemesis of the spirit sun. The body of the god of death is composed of the spirit sun, so it is even more defeated by the sky. The main reason why Aizen was able to kill Kutu instantly was because of Kion's power or his use of Bengyoku. But no matter which situation it is obviously completely impossible for him to do it for Yi Cheng now. The probability of someone unexpectedly arriving at the boundary through the boundary gate is already less than 1%. Now that we encounter a judgment that only occurs once every 7 days in the broken boundary, the probability is even higher. One of them. If it weren't for the fact that he had no contact with the big boss at all, Yi Cheng would have even thought that he had been tricked. He exploded with spiritual pressure all over his body, and clenched the Zanpakudo in his hand, imitating the Getsuga Tensho, and executed a high-density spirit attack, which was cut out by Yashara, and he ran straight into the oncoming force. However, Jutu itself is the scavenger of the broken world, able to swallow and eliminate the existence of all spiritual beings. The powerful spiritual pressure has no effect on it at all. The Link C slash, which was powerful enough to kill Daksu, struck Jutu's body, but the other party didn't do anything. Seeing this scene, Yi Cheng was about to turn around and flee, but suddenly something happened to his body. A steady electronic sound suddenly appeared in his mind. It is detected that the host is in a special space environment at the moment, and the conditions are met, and the plane shuttle system is officially started. The system is starting up, and the current progress is 10%, 20%. During the system startup process, the host is asked to remain stationary to avoid unexpected situations. Quote, hearing the voice in his mind, Yi Cheng had the idea of scolding his mother at this moment. Although this third-party illegal software came a little late, it is always a good thing to have plugins. But the point of the problem is that the timing of this plugin's appearance is really bad, and when the system is turned on, it also forces him to be physically unable to move. It's really a scam. Logically speaking, Jutu's movement speed is not very fast. Even if Yi Cheng can't beat the opponent, he is still capable of running away. But if his body can't move now, isn't it clear that he will be in vain? No one knows what will happen to the god of death who is swallowed by Jutu. After all, not every god of death is the son of the world. Seeing that Jutu was getting closer and closer to him, Yi Cheng looked at the system that had just reached the 50% progress bar, and his face became more and more anxious. What kind of rubbish cheat is this? The cheats that other time travelers get in the first or second chapters, but it takes at least 10 chapters to get to my place. Moreover, if he doesn't activate it sooner or later, he activates it at this critical moment, and there are also pitfall settings that make him unable to act. is his lucky value E. Another world, Grand Bahamar. Night City, which was supposed to be in the border break, and was about to be swallowed up by Jutu. At the last moment, the so-called plane shuttle system was finally loaded and turned on. And at the first moment when the system was turned on, Yi Cheng's body was directly smashed into pieces of ice. Since the body of the god of death is made up of spirit sons, some of the spirit sons descended into this so-called different world, Grand Bahamar. Since Yi Cheng was originally the god of death, his body was entirely made up of spirit sons. Therefore, after coming to this world, his body was not like a simple time travel or reincarnation. Instead, his bones and body were reshaped in this world, and he became a human being. Aboriginal people appeared in this world. I am the god of another world. As a transfer to this world, I can give you the ability to survive in this cruel world as a plug-in. When I first arrived at Night City in another world, the first voice I heard was not from the system, but from the so-called god of another world. Although Yi Cheng didn't know why the so-called god of another world spoke the language he spoke in his previous life, it was great to be able to understand it anyway. In line with the idea that if there is an advantage, don't take advantage of it, and Chun Chun is a fool. Naturally, Yi Cheng had no reason to refuse the plug-in that was delivered to his door, so he said what he was thinking. I want to have the most powerful power in this other world, the super strength that can definitely defeat anyone I encounter. Ask yourself what plugins you need. What is the difference between this thing and making a wish? If this is the case, then Yecheng will naturally not be polite to the other party. God of another world. After hearing Yi Cheng's appeal, the so-called god of another world was obviously stuck. From the previous exchanges, it is not difficult to see that this so-called god of another world should be a similar existence to the system, and the wish made by Yi City, obviously beyond the scope of his authority. Want unrivaled strength. So where do we place the gods, demon kings, dragon kings and the like in this world? Although it is a cheat, the intensity of the cheat obviously cannot be too outrageous, otherwise it will only affect the overall balance of the world. Probably because he felt that his demands were too much, so much so that the so-called god of another world was stuck, so Yi Cheng could only retreat and said, since it is a fantasy world of swords and magic, then it should have magic and magic exist. Then I want to have huge magic power and a body that is immune to magic. There should be no problem with such abilities, right? Quote. Regarding Yi City's request again, the god of the other world was truly speechless. If it hadn't been for the existence of something like a novice guide, he would really want to give Yi City a hard time. Without him, the human being in front of it is too greedy. The request you mentioned belongs to two abilities, huge magic power and magic immunity. I can only fulfill one of your wishes. Regarding the stingy god from another world, Yi Cheng hesitated for a moment and finally chose the ability of magic immunity from him. He would make such a choice after careful consideration. Having huge magic power does not necessarily mean that he has excellent magic talent. Just like having a supercar, if you don't have a driver's license, it is completely useless. But the ability of magic immunity is different. As long as he has this ability, to put it simply, he is the nemesis of magicians in this world. As for magic power, according to the low system that he transferred with him, his own spiritual pressure seems to be transformed into the power system of this world on its own. Taking a step back, even if Yi Cheng's so-called magic talent is based on his own swordsmanship and the newly acquired magic immunity ability, he can at least have a certain degree of self-protection, not to mention overwhelming the world. Stronger. After giving Yi City the plug-in ability to protect himself in this world, the so-called god of another world disappeared. Yi Cheng, who originally wanted to ask the other party about other situations in this world, was speechless. As the god of another world who guides travelers, he is so irresponsible. The area where Yi Cheng was at the moment seemed to be in a forest. He knew nothing about this other world. Originally, the system he carried seemed to only have the ability to travel through planes, but during the activation of the system, Yi Cheng's body was hit by Jutu. This directly caused the souls of Yi City to be scattered to various worlds, and he was the part of the souls that landed in this world. There was no way. When he first arrived in a strange world, he had to master certain basic information. To do this, he had to continue to have contact with people, at least with the existence of intelligent creatures. But after wandering in the forest for 2 days in Night City, he killed a lot of various monsters, let alone humans. He didn't even see any intelligent creatures. Although I don't have a map, I don't believe that if I go straight in one direction, I won't be able to get out of this forest. The forest where Night City is located is actually not that big. The reason why this guy couldn't get out after walking for 2 days is entirely because this guy has certain road crazy attributes. As we all know, people who are good at swordsmanship often have this kind of problem. Although Yi Cheng is not running back and forth like a three-sword swordsman, his sense of direction is indeed not strong. Are you robbers? I can give you money, please let me go. What is this orc talking about? He actually took out a few pieces of paper to fool us. Are today's orcs so intelligent that they can even beg for mercy? This orc may be a rare breed. If we catch this guy and bring him to the Chamber of Commerce, we should be able to sell him for a good price. Yi Cheng, who had been wandering in the forest for 2 days, heard the sound of human conversation for the first time in this forest. He was undoubtedly very excited. And when he traced the source of the sound and hid there, he discovered several men confronting each other. To be precise, the so-called confrontation should be more like a one-sided assault, in which 3 men dressed like adventurers were beating another man who looked like a human. Although the man who was beaten kept holding his head with his hands, sticking his butt out and begging for mercy, and said that he was also a human being, the other 3 adventurers all looked in disbelief. For a different world where handsome men and beautiful women are common, the other person's appearance is not just ordinary, it can only be described as strange. So even if Shima Yosuke can speak, they just regard him as a rare orc who can talk. At this moment, they are even preparing to capture him back to the city and make a lot of extra money. Orcs are a subspecies and are not rare in this world, but talking orcs are different. Such rare goods can be bought at a good price. Guys, I'm sorry to disturb you, but the person you captured is my friend, not the so-called half-orc you call me. We came from a distant countryside. We originally wanted to develop in a big city, but we got lost in this forest on the way. Since some of you are planning to return to the town, can you take us with you? That way, I can let go of what a few people just did to my friends. Quote. Just when these adventurers tied up Yosuke Shima, who was bruised and swollen but kept explaining, and prepared to take him back to the city, Yi Cheng, who had been spying on the side for a long time, finally came out. In fact, from the banknotes and wallet that Shima Yosuke dropped aside, as well as the words he just explained, Yi Cheng knew that the other party was also a visitor from another world. The reason why he has been hiding away is that he wants to see what kind of abilities other world shifters besides himself have. However, to his regret, he squatted in the grass for a long time. A man named Shima Yosuke, although he was a time traveler like him, seemed to be a pure weakling in terms of strength. If you say he is your friend, he is your friend. Do you have any evidence? I think you, this guy, saw that we captured a rare orc that can talk, so you want to be careful and steal people. Quote. That's right, even if he is really as you said, so what if he is someone you know? Now that he has been discovered and captured by us, he is our trophy. You're just a country bumpkin, if you feel uncomfortable, you can try to spar with us brothers. Quote. With Yi Cheng's appearance, even in this different world, he can definitely be regarded as handsome, so naturally he will not be regarded as a so-called half-orc like Shima Yosuke. However, the adventurers in front of him seemed not to pay attention to what Yi Cheng said. In other words, even if they believed what Yi Cheng said, they had no intention of compromising now. It was obvious that there were 3 of them here, while there was only one in Night City, and he was a country bumpkin from the local countryside with no background at all. Rare orcs who can talk can definitely be sold at a good price in the Chamber of Commerce. They are strangers to Yi City, so why should they give face to each other? It seems that sometimes force can convince people better than words. If you have this request, then I will satisfy you. Yi Cheng inserted the crude bone knife on his waist into the ground in front of him, and then rushed towards the 3 people in front of him with bare hands. Having wandered around the Soul Society for many years, Yi Cheng is still able to judge the minimum strength of his opponent. The 3 adventurers in front of him seemed to be tall and well equipped, but in fact, their aura strength was only that much, and they were not worthy of using the knife themselves. Just beating them in vain was enough to make them cry. What an arrogant brat, you don't have to use weapons if you have them. You are planning to show off in front of me, right? Sure enough, we are just brats from the countryside. Do you think we are on the same level as those third-rate adventurers from the countryside? A few minutes later, sir, we really didn't expect that this half-orc, this gentleman is your friend. We are willing to apologize for our behavior just now, and with all our property, we will treat it as compensation for the mental loss of the two of you. Quote, the two adults are preparing to head to the town. We are willing to lead the way. I just ask that this adult can be merciful and let us go. Yosuke Shima looked at the rather dramatic scene in front of him with a look of astonishment on his face at this moment, and gained some insights from it, understanding that sometimes relying on words alone to convince people with reason may not always work. The three adventurers in front of them clearly looked like they were asking for 25,800 yuan before, but after Yi Cheng used his fists to convince people with reason, they were neatly sitting down and kneeling in front of Yi Cheng. Aro begged for mercy. Before, he kept calling him a country bumpkin from Night City and an orc, but now his address has changed to Sir and Sir. Yosuke, according to what you said, after you came to this other world, you should have gained the power given by the god of the other world. And the power you were given should be the ability to communicate with creatures from another world. Haven't you noticed that at first, those adventurers couldn't understand what you said, but later they were able to understand it? It was just because of your appearance that they regarded you as a half-hearted person. Just orcs. Quote, even though Yosuke and Shima Yosuke were both visitors from another world, they were not fellow villagers, but they were the same kind, so naturally the two of them started to communicate with each other very quickly. You are actually only 17 years old. During the exchange, Yi Cheng was shocked to discover that the unattractive Shima Yosuke in front of him was actually just a 17-year-old boy. He obviously looks no different from a 30-year-old uncle. Where is Yi City? How old are you this year? Judging from your appearance, you should be about the same age as me, no, maybe younger than me. Haha, I'm almost 17 years old. Hearing Shima Yosuke's question, Yi Cheng could only answer with an embarrassed look. Don't be embarrassed and don't believe it. How old is Yi Cheng? Anyway, judging from the time he has lived in Soul Society, it must be several decades. If you add in the age in his previous life, he might have reached 3 years, level of digits. In other words, the situation between the two of them is exactly the opposite at this moment. Shima Yosuke looks old, but in fact he is just an innocent boy, while Yashara looks immature, but in fact he is an experienced driver with many years of driving experience. Yecheng, how long have you been in this different world? I saw you defeating those adventurers before, and it seemed quite easy. Is it because you chose a powerful cheat at the beginning? Yosuke is actually quite excited about being able to travel to another world. After all, as a gamer, plots can only be found in novels and games. But there is no harm in comparing. Compared with Tianyu's start in Night City, he chose a plugin called Universal Lobbyist at the start. This start is not too bad. Although communication is the basic condition for establishing trust, what happened before has made Yosuke understand one thing, that is, sometimes even if they speak the same language, they may not be able to understand each other. Well, there is no rubbish ability in this world, it just depends on how you use it. I didn't get any powerful combat power from the god of another world. The power I got should be the kind of power that can protect myself. As for the strength to defeat those adventurers before, I developed it myself. Since you are also a modern time traveler, you should also understand that even if it is a game, it is impossible to open cheats and explode divine equipment at the beginning. If this is the case, torturing a demon king is the same as torturing a vegetable, so what fun is there in the game itself? Quote, hearing what Yashara said, Yosuke's eyes suddenly brightened, and he looked at Yashara as if he were looking at a confidant and said, that's right, just like the guardian hero, the protagonist also grows up slowly. Until he becomes a hero in the end. You know Night City, right? It's that super famous game from Sega. You should have played it too. Quote, ah, I seem to have heard of it. Looking at Yosuke Shima who suddenly became excited, Yi Cheng reluctantly agreed. After arriving in the city, Yi Cheng planned to part ways with him. Yi Cheng didn't know how many time travelers there were in this world, but according to the general script, Shima Yosuke might be the son of the world in this plane. But as of now, Yosuke's combat effectiveness is really. If he wanted to wait until he became powerful and invincible in the world, Yi Cheng didn't know that he would have to wait until the year of the monkey and the month of the horse. Now, Yi Cheng knew nothing about whether there was a connection between this world and his original world, whether he could still go back, and whether there would be another version of himself in the death world after he returned. Yosuke did not object to Yi Cheng's suggestion to act separately, because he likes to play all kinds of games, and he also understands that if the gap between each other's strengths is too big, teaming up will not only not be able to help each other, but will even become each other's guide. A stumbling block to the world. Obviously Shima Yosuke has still treated this different world as a game so far, and he has not realized the importance of thighs. In order to prevent Yosuke Shima from being too strong and causing the protagonist of this world to burp before he has grown up, Yi Cheng also gave him 2 pieces of advice. The first point is to temporarily find something to hide your appearance. Although Shima Yosuke's appearance can be accurately regarded as ordinary and not so-called ugly, in this different world where handsome men and beautiful women are common, his appearance level is basically equivalent to that of a subspecies of half-orc. As for another point, there is the plug-in, universal lobbyist, about Shima Yosuke. Yi Cheng believes that since the ability of the universal lobbyist is to communicate with all things in the other world, then maybe the so-called communication objects are not limited to visible creatures. If you can study and understand it carefully, you might have some unexpected surprises. Yi Cheng left after leaving some suggestions. Now, let alone helping Shima Yosuke resolve his doubts, he was even in a state of complete confusion about the world. Because Yi Cheng can understand the language of this world, he at least avoids the embarrassing situation of language barrier like Shima Yosuke's situation. As for where to get information, Yi Cheng chose the local adventurers guild. In the fantasy world of swords and magic, adventurers are the standard, and with the existence of adventurers, there are naturally organizations like the Adventurers Guild. With his outstanding appearance and excellent eloquence, Yi Cheng quickly found the local Adventurer Guild, and as a new adventurer, he was able to seduce the girl at the adventure counter with just a few words. This different world is called Gran Bahamar. It is basically inhabited by humans just like the real world. In addition, there are elves and other races. Overall, they are all beautiful. Even passers-by and ordinary villagers are beautiful. Generally handsome guys and beautiful girls, which is why Shima Yosuke was initially regarded as a half-orc. The currency in circulation in this world is copper, silver, and gold. The face value of a copper coin is approximately equivalent to 1 coin equals 10 yen, 10 sen. The exchange rate of copper, silver, and gold is 1 to 10,000. Secondly, Yi Cheng also understood that there is currently no demon king in this world, which means that the boss he wants to defeat should not be the demon king, but some other creature. As for the existence of gods, the girl doesn't seem to know much. After all, she is just an ordinary receptionist in the Adventurers Guild. But one thing makes Yi Cheng quite happy, that is, basically, anyone in this world can use magic as long as they have certain knowledge and skills. Magic power is not innate but can be made stronger through training, and there is a spell that is used for purposes such as shortening the duration of a spell, in which the magic power is sealed in a charm and used once. Yi Cheng, this is your adventurer certificate. Remember to keep it. Even if you lose it, you can get a replacement, but the procedure is quite troublesome. Because you have just registered, you are currently only the lowest level E-level adventurer. Do you want me to help you find some E-level missions that are not very dangerous? Quote. Yi Cheng didn't believe that good-looking people could really be eaten in the past, but Yi Cheng now believed it, and he had to admit that soft rice might taste even better. Miss Sonia, although it is true that I have just become an adventurer, please don't underestimate me. I have a certain fighting ability, but I have never registered as an adventurer before. So can you please use your authority to help me get some more difficult tasks? Quote. According to the regulations of the Adventurers Guild, adventurers can only receive tasks corresponding to their own level. On the one hand, it is only for the safety of the employer, and on the other hand, it is also for the sake of the adventurers themselves. After all, once you accept a task beyond your capabilities, the mortality rate is quite high. It's not that I don't want to help you, but it's just too dangerous to do so. I have been responsible for a lot of new adventurers in the past few years. Many of them claimed that they were excellent hunters or had excellent talents in the past, and then they accepted tasks from me that exceeded their own adventure level. However, it is a pity that the final endings of these people are not very good. Some died at the hands of various monsters, and although some survived, they also became permanently disabled. Night City, the outside world is more dangerous than you think, and those monsters are stronger than you think, so let's improve our strength step by step, okay? Quote. After hearing the other party's persuasion, Yi Cheng also sighed greatly. This does not mean that he is eager to improve his adventurer level, but if there is no source of income, Yi Cheng is afraid that he may have to sleep in the open next. On the streets. Both he and Shima Yosuke were suddenly thrown into this world. Neither of them had the currency of this world on them. The previous adventurers were also poor. The so-called mental damage fee was just a big bag of copper coins. The night before the loss, Cheng thought he had made a fortune. As a result, after Yi Cheng split the large bag of copper coins 50-50 with Shima Yosuke, he registered his identity with the Adventurers Guild, and after paying the handling fee, there were only a few copper coins left. Too bad. With a purchasing power of 10 sen per copper coin, Yi Cheng felt that with these few steel coins in his hand, he might not even be able to afford a piece of the lowest quality bread. Miss Sonia, please help me. I need money very much now. If I just rely on E-level collection tasks, I may not even have enough money to stay in a hotel tonight. The request was rejected by the other party, so Yi Cheng could only try to get the young lady's help by resorting to misfortune. However, what Yi Cheng didn't expect was that the way the young lady helped him was not to help him seek personal gain with power, but to warmly invite Yi Cheng to stay at her home. Miss Sonia, this is not good. Although we just chatted very well, we only met today, so you invited me to stay at your home. Yi Cheng didn't expect that a girl from another world could be so bold. Although his face should be a lot better, the girl he met on the first day was so proactive that even Yi Cheng began to doubt whether he was arrived in a different world that is not too serious. As we all know, even if it is an anime series, there is a difference between the outside and the inside. If it is a superficial series, the general fantasy background world will be either passionate or funny. But if it's a story, then the plot that happens next when Yi Cheng goes home with the other party is probably the so-called paid content. To be fair, the proportion of handsome men and beautiful women in this world is so large, even if it is really a different world, it is not completely impossible. As for the girl's kind invitation, Yi Cheng finally rejected it after struggling for a long time. If it was before, Yi Cheng wouldn't mind communicating with him. However, as an adventurer, he still doesn't know how long he will stay in this city. Ye Cheng will not refuse him a friendly gesture, but if he needs to be responsible, that is another matter. Seriously, what are you thinking about? I'm a staff member of the Adventurers Guild, so I usually live here with the guild. But I have a vacant house in this town, and I mean you can live there temporarily. As for the rent, you don't have to worry about it. You can just pay it back to me when you have more money in the future. Quote. Well, that's what I meant before. Miss Sonia and I have only known each other for less than a day, and you just lent me your house like this. Is this really okay? As a gentleman, Yi Cheng naturally couldn't admit that he had just imagined something wrong, so he said this without blushing and without a beating heart, which made Sonia feel embarrassed because of his wild imagination just now. That's no problem, my house is big, and besides you, there is another tenant. Although she is very beautiful, she is quite strong. You must not provoke her. Quote. After handing the magic key to his house to Yi City and informing him of the location, Sonia said again, actually, if you want to quickly increase your adventurer level and take on higher level missions, there is another method. That is to form a team with high-level adventurers. In this way, you can receive high mission rewards, your safety can be guaranteed, and you can also learn a lot of experience. Generally speaking, senior adventurers are not willing to take care of novices, but my sister has been working in the guild for some time, and I still have some popularity. Quote. Sonia couldn't explain why she would provide so much help to an adventurer she just met, but apart from the other person's good looks, Sonia thought she also saw great potential in him. As the guild's receptionist, she comes into contact with various adventurers the most every day, and Ye Cheng is the first new adventurer to give her this feeling. Then I'll trouble you, Miss Sonia. When I have enough money, I will pay back double the rent I owe you. The other party not only provided him with a place to live, but also found a way for him to take on high-level tasks. Yi Cheng was certainly not an unscrupulous person. Although he was not used to teaming up with others to act together, since this was the other party's good intention and there was no other way at the moment, Yi Cheng had no choice but to agree. Miss Sonia, we are here, what do you want us to do? And if I can really help you this time, is it true that you are willing to have dinner with me? Quote. Without letting Yi City wait for long, a few high-level adventurers that Sonia called who could guide Yi City walked into the Adventurers Guild. There were 3 people who came, and the leader was a handsome blonde guy. The other party seems to be Sunya's crazy suitor. This time, Sunya also got the other party's help by accompanying him to dinner as a reward. Rex, this is my brother who lives in the country. He just registered as an adventurer today because he wants to experience the life of a high-level adventurer, but I am a little worried, so I asked you to come here for help. Hearing what Sunya said, the handsome blonde boy named Rex suddenly beat his chest. His pursuit of Sunya was not a matter of a day or two. With this kind of opportunity to perform in front of the goddess, he naturally can't miss it. And since the other party is Miss Sonia's younger brother, as long as you show your strength in front of the other party and let the other party become your little fan, wouldn't the progress of conquering Miss Sonia be much faster? What kind of knowledge can a mere young man from the countryside have? As long as he shows off his skills this time, the other party might even say a few more good words for him in front of Miss Sonia. Miss Sonia, don't worry. I will definitely take good care of your brother and let him see the strength of a high-level adventurer. By the way, where is your brother? Following Sonia's gaze, Rex also looked at the location of Yi City. At the same time, Yi City's eyes also fell on the Rex trio. Miss Sonia, he is what you said, your brother from the country. When they saw Yi City, Rex and the other 3 were really dumbfounded, because they really didn't expect that this town was so big, that they would actually meet Yi City again, and that the other person was actually the younger brother of the person they admired. That's right, it's not the first time that Yi City has met the so-called high-level adventurers called Rex by Sonia. To be precise, they have only been separated not long ago. The trio in front of them, by coincidence, were the same trio of adventurers who had planned to sell Shima Yosuke as a rare orc in the forest. After being beaten by Yi Cheng, he brought Yi City and Yosuke to this town, and finally Yi City let them leave. What's wrong? Do you know each other? Seeing the surprised expressions of Yi Cheng, Rex and others, Sonia looked at Yi Cheng doubtfully and asked. We know each other, I got lost in the forest before, and they took me to this town. Well, they also gave me a large bag of copper coins, indicating that it was all their property. Regarding the words, all property, Yi Cheng spoke very seriously, and the expressions of the 3 Rex people who noticed this became extremely embarrassed at this moment. As experienced adventurers, no matter how desperate Rex and the others were, their entire wealth would naturally not be just the bag of copper coins from before. If I said that before, it was just to bully Yi Cheng and the other country people for not knowing their business. It's just that they didn't expect that the world is so small. They thought they would never meet each other again. Who knew that they separated in the morning and actually bumped into each other again in the afternoon, and the other person was actually the younger brother of the goddess they were pursuing. Rex, I never thought before that you have the advantage of being helpful to others. But I don't want to owe you too many favors. How much money you gave Yi Cheng, I will help him exchange it for you. Hearing the goddess's question, Rex became even more embarrassed. Originally, he wanted to increase his favorability, but once the true situation was exposed, wouldn't the goddess have nothing to do with him in the future? Ha, ha, this is nothing. I have always liked helping others. Miss Sonia, is your brother really a new adventurer? In order not to let his goddess disappoint him, Rex could only say this shamelessly. Fortunately, Yi Cheng on the side just smiled playfully, but did not choose to expose him. It is true that he just registered as an adventurer today, but he said that he has a certain level of strength and wants to take on missions above E level, but I am a little relieved. That's why I was thinking if you could take him to increase his experience. Quote. In Sonia's opinion, although Rex and the others are not the strongest group of adventurers in the town, they are still at the middle level. They should be more than enough to lead the newcomer in Night City. But after hearing Sonia's request, Rex and the other three suddenly showed expressions of constipation. Even Rex's two teammates directly chose a reason without thinking and wiped the soles of their feet. The oil ran away. Rex, I suddenly feel a little uncomfortable today, so I'm leaving first. Me too. I suddenly remembered that my partner asked me to go shopping today. I have promised her for a long time, so I'm sorry. Hearing the excuses given by his two companions for escaping, Rex was heartbroken. Before coming here, the guy who said he was in poor health was showing off his muscles along the way. There is another guy who is even more wasted up. They have been teaming up for so long. How come he, Rex, doesn't know that the other guy has a partner? Are you going to shop together, with your left hand and your right hand? Miss Sonia, you have also seen the situation. Two of my companions have had some emergencies. It seems that we cannot go out today and fully entrust them. Otherwise, we can take your brother to experience it when we have time another day. Want to live as an adventurer? Rex quite understood why his two companions ran away with oil on their souls, because if the goddess hadn't come face to face with them, he would have been ready to run away now. The newcomer adventurer, brother that Sonia calls, in the eyes of Rex and the other three, is just a super boss in the guise of a newbie. Let the three of them take each other to experience the life of adventurers. The other party was a big boss who could easily kill the three of them with his bare hands. Moreover, they had dumped each other before, and now they are venturing into the wilderness with each other. The possibility of being exposed in the wilderness is not very high. Sister Sonia, I'm really strong. If you don't believe me, how about you let me compete with Mr. Rex? If I can defeat him, you can arrange a more difficult task for me. If I lose, then everything will follow Sister Suoya's arrangement and accept the task corresponding to the adventure level step by step, okay? Quote. Of course, Yi Cheng and Sonia were not in a so-called brother-sister relationship, but since Sonia had introduced herself to Rex and the others in this way before, he naturally couldn't offend Sonia's face. I'm sorry, I just suddenly remembered that I have something important to do today, so I'll leave first. Sonia had not yet agreed to Yi Cheng's proposal, but after hearing what Yi Cheng said, Rex decided to run away without thinking. Are you kidding me? Are you competing with Yi Cheng? What's the difference between that and just looking for abuse? The three of them went together before, and they couldn't hold on for less than a minute in front of the empty-handed Yi Cheng. Now that they were challenged to a one-on-one challenge, wouldn't that mean they were going to be 5-second men? Although it would be humiliating to run away in front of his goddess, it would be better than being killed instantly during a sparring match. Wouldn't that be even more embarrassing? Okay, as long as you can defeat Rex, I will make an exception and arrange a high-level adventurer mission for you. Rex had just taken a step forward, but Yi Cheng had already taken the first step to hold his shoulders, and responded with a toothy smile. Then please give me some advice, Mr. Rex, who is always happy to help others. There is never a shortage of spectators in the world, especially in places like the Adventurers Guild, where adventurers who have so much idle time are often gathered. Seeing that there was a lot of fun to watch, many adventurers naturally came over with ale to join in the fun, and even set up a gambling table. At this moment, Rex also had a look of constipation on his face. The location where he and Yi City were had long been surrounded by adventurers watching the excitement. Now he was already in a difficult position. If he found another reason to escape, he will become the laughingstock of the entire adventurer circle in the future. Sure enough, lust is like a bone scraper. If he hadn't coveted Sonia's beauty, how could he have ended up in this situation today? Seeing that there was no way to retreat, Rex also drew his sword and looked at Yi City in front of him with a prepared expression. No way, no way, looking at that guy Rex's expression, he seems to be quite serious. The opponent is just a newcomer who just registered as an adventurer today. As for putting on this posture, quote, it seems that the bet I made is about to go to waste. I originally wanted to see if I could get an upset. After all, that guy Rex is interested in Miss Sonia. It's not something that can happen in a day or two. Originally, I thought he would take Miss Sonia's face into consideration and show off to this newcomer, but now it seems that this guy Rex is a real man. Quote, Yi City just registered as an adventurer today, which was obvious to many adventurers who had just joined the Adventurer Guild before. Although Rex's abilities were average, he could torture an inexperienced newcomer, but that was not a matter of control, so no one of the adventurers present thought that Night City could win. However, compared to the adventurers who were watching the excitement, only Rex, who was a participant in the battle, knew that the white-haired man in front of him was not a so-called newbie at all. Seeing that he and Rex actually opened a betting market, Yi Cheng originally wanted to take advantage of this to make a fortune, but now he was short of money, so he could only miss this opportunity. Take the move for me, martial skill, lightning slash. Rex knew very well that based on their previous experience with Yi City, the chance of winning in a one-on-one challenge was very slim. If he waited for Yi Cheng to take the initiative to attack, he might not even have a chance to counterattack and would lose the duel hastily. So now Rex's thinking is quite clear, that is, even if he loses, he must at least lose brilliantly, at least not lose too ugly in front of so many people. No way, that kid Rex seems to be serious. He actually uses this kind of martial arts when facing a newcomer. Is he going to kill that newcomer? As Night City had learned before, almost everyone in Grand Bahamar can master magic. Some highly skilled adventurers can even fuse their own martial arts with magic to create more powerful ones. Excellent martial arts. The martial arts skills used by Rex at this moment are such power. Golden light instantly poured into the sword in Rex's hand with magic power, and traces of golden arcs were also beating continuously on the sword in Rex's hand. And because of this martial skill, Rex's speed has obviously improved a lot compared to before. In just the blink of an eye, he sprinted in front of Yi City. Compared to the shocked people around him, Yi Cheng was not too alarmed by the martial arts skills used by Rex, but was more out of curiosity. Because he had only come to this world not long ago, this was his first contact with the magic of this world. When Rex and the other three were beaten unilaterally by Night City, they did not use magic. It wasn't because they didn't want to use it, but because Yi City was fighting too fast at that time, and because Rex and the others were careless, they didn't even have time to use magic. Seeing the lightning slash that struck him like thunder, Yi Cheng calmly tightened his grip on the crude bone knife in his hand and blocked the opponent's downward slash. Boom! Rex held the sword in both hands and slashed down. When the long sword hit the bone knife that Yi Cheng held horizontally, it suddenly exploded with a huge impact. Brutal thunder and lightning raged instantly, and the dazzling bright light instantly took away everyone's attention. Sight. Rex, are you crazy? He is just a newcomer in Yi City, and you actually. While the violent thunder and lightning emitted strong light, the violent arc also shattered the ground, bringing with it a large amount of sand and dust. Looking at Rex and Yi Cheng who were hidden by the curtain of sand, Sonia immediately looked angry, yelled at Rex. Originally, Sonia thought that competing with Rex would allow Yi Cheng to understand his own strength. Although he might be injured, it would be better than dying at the hands of a monster without knowing the truth. But Sonia really didn't expect that in just an ordinary sparring session, Rex would strike so hard, and even the martial arts just now were completely fatal. However, Sonia was only halfway through her words when she angrily scolded Rex. The scene that happened in front of her soon brought her words to an abrupt end. Even now, she didn't know whether she should still be angry. In fact, not only her, but also the other adventurers watching the battle now had expressions of confusion and shock on their faces, and they even forgot to drink the ale in their hands. Previously, everyone present only saw Rex holding a sword with both hands, launching the martial arts, Thunder Slash, and slashing towards Yi City. However, the cute new adventurer Yi City, who was standing on the same spot, did not even have time to dodge and could only choose passive defense. Although the rising curtain of sand covered the two people's figures, most people believed that the winner of this duel had been decided, and the focus of the issue now was just how seriously Yi Cheng was injured. But what did they see just now? The figure that flew out of the sand with a whoosh just now seemed to be Rex, who had just used martial arts and was considered to have won by everyone. At first, everyone thought they were dazzled, but when another figure slowly walked out of the sand with a knife in one hand, everyone was shocked to find that the figure that just flew out was indeed Rex. I see, this is the so-called magic and martial arts. It is a very powerful force. It feels somewhat similar to the ghost path I have mastered, but it is a different kind of power. By the way, in this world, can I still use Kido? Why not try it now? Quote. The Thunder Slash that Rex just called felt a bit like a spiritual pressure slash to Yi Cheng, but the power was quite weak, but the way it used power made Yi Cheng feel fresh and new. O King, the mask of flesh and blood, the myriad things, the feathers, the one who bears the name of man. The heat and strife, rolling southward across the sea, march forward. Chapter 31. Red Cannon. Quote, slowly walking out of the dusty night city, holding the bone knife with cracks on the blade in one hand, he moved forward with one hand, and began to chant the ghost's incantation quickly. Since the power system has been systematically transformed into a system corresponding to the local world, when Yi Cheng chanted the ghost path, a red magic circle appeared in front of his palm. The spiritual pressure transformed into magic power rose up from Yi Cheng's body, and the strong wind around him blew away the surrounding sand and dust in an instant. The next second, a crimson fireball with a diameter of 3 meters emerged from the magic circle in front of Yi Cheng's palm, and exploded at an alarming speed in the direction where Rex flew backwards. And go. Yi Cheng was shocked, because he felt that he had clearly controlled his spiritual pressure, but what he never expected was that the size of the red cannon would be so outrageous. Moreover, the ghost path was transformed into magic and lost the state that it could have maintained. Almost as soon as he finished singing, the red fire cannon burst out of his hand in an instant. Watching the crimson fireball, which was comparable to a small sun, fly across the Guildhall and leave a scorched path on the floor, Night City also started to move in an instant. Just kidding, although he was dissatisfied with Rex's previous behavior, at most he wanted to teach him a lesson and had no intention of killing anyone. Through previous contacts, he already had a clear understanding of Rex's strength. If the otherworldly version of the Red Artillery was eaten head-on, Rex would have almost no way to survive. He just registered as an adventurer today, and he wants to continue to act in this capacity for a short time, but he doesn't want to become a wanted criminal for accidentally killing someone. Yi Cheng's feet touched the ground, and with Shunpo's blessing, his figure instantly disappeared from everyone's sight. When everyone present came to their senses, they were shocked to find that Yi Cheng had arrived where he was. Before releasing the red fireball. Because Yi Cheng's speed was so fast, everyone present didn't even recover before they found that his body had appeared in front of the huge red fireball. However, just when everyone was wondering what he was going to do, Yi Cheng clenched the crude bone knife in his hand, condensed his spiritual pressure, magic power into the knife, and then slashed it out. Yakumi Ido style, Kanzaki. Yi Cheng has his own swordsmanship school. Although he comes from Rukongai, he met a master of the swordsmanship school in his early years, and because he took good care of him, he was taught martial arts. No matter how powerful a martial arts master is, he will eventually die one day. According to the settings of the death god world, people after death will turn into wandering souls or degenerate into voids. Because many dead martial arts masters were already old when they died, they were quite inconspicuous in Rukongai, but Yi Cheng knew how to make reasonable use of his own advantages before he had any cheats. Not only swordsmanship, but also fighting skills and other fighting skills, Yi Cheng had learned a lot before entering Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy. This is also the reason why he, an ordinary person with no background and no cheats, was able to be far ahead of the other supporting characters in the original work at the beginning. It was supposed to be a high-density spirit sword slash that was swung around the spirit child, but in this world, it was transformed into a pure compressed magic power slash. The bright white slash formed an entity due to the compressed magic power, and at the moment when the blade flew out, it directly turned into a crescent moon that was almost several meters high, and easily destroyed the red cannon, released by Yi City before, like cutting a watermelon into 2 pieces from the middle. Boom! When the red fireball was cut from the middle, terrifying energy exploded instantly, and the intense high temperature immediately completely engulfed the surrounding areas. Not only did the ground seem to be squeezed by force, a large pit with a diameter of several meters appeared directly, and even the surrounding ground they were all burned to scorched earth due to the high temperature, and the temperature in the air also soared several degrees higher than before. But what was even more outrageous was the slash that Yi Cheng used to split the fireball. The crescent moon slash, which was several meters high, not only plowed a deep ravine in the ground, but even the ceiling was not spared. After splitting the huge red fireball in 2, it continued to cut all the tables and chairs along the way, leaving a deep knife mark on the wall of the Adventurers Guild. Because what just happened almost instantly, everyone present was in a state of shock at this moment. And when they reacted, the way they looked at Yi Cheng again was completely different from before. No wonder Rex looked like he was facing a powerful enemy before. If such a terrifying guy can be considered a new adventurer, then aren't they even a baby wearing a crotch cloth? Miss Sonia, I'm really sorry, because I haven't taken any serious action for a long time, so I didn't control my power well just now. We will compensate for all losses here. Although I am a little embarrassed now, I will make money soon. Quote. If they had heard Yi Cheng say such words before, everyone present would probably have thought that the newcomer in front of them was a braggart. But after seeing the battle just now, everyone present no longer had the slightest doubt about Yi Cheng's words. Just kidding, although the battle between Yi Cheng and Rex just now was short, during the battle, Yi Cheng had fully proved his excellent martial arts, huge magical power, and astonishing physical fitness. The outstanding martial arts comes from the slash that Yi Cheng used to split the fireball. The huge magical power comes from the red cannon released by Yi Cheng. The astonishing body speed refers to the fact that Yi Cheng seems to be teleporting, appearing in the air. The ultimate movement technique in front of the red fireball. Martial arts, magic power, physical fitness, no matter what, Yi Cheng is far superior to all the adventurers here. Although the opponent is a newly registered newcomer, he is definitely the strongest newcomer worthy of the name. I am partly responsible for this, so I will also bear part of the loss. At first I thought it was just a small fight, but I also thought that what you said you had a little bit of power turned out to be like this. Quote. To be honest, Sonia really didn't expect that the discussion between Yi Cheng and Rex would reach such a situation. She originally thought that Yi Cheng was a pure newbie, and even if he didn't go to the training ground behind and competed in the guild hall, he wouldn't cause too much damage here, but who knew? So Miss Sonia, now that I have proven my strength, can you allow me to accept dangerous missions above E level? Rex, who am I? Where am I? Have you all forgotten me? He walked out of the Night City of the Adventurers Guild again with a satisfied expression on his face. After proving his strength, he not only received a high-level mission, but also an A-level mission. An E-level new adventurer was entrusted with an A-level mission, which would have been unimaginable before. However, such privileges were given to Night City personally by the president of the Adventurers Guild. Originally, the other party was drinking black tea upstairs in the guild, chatting about life with the leisurely assistant, but the huge noise made the guild president think that his wife had come to the door, so he immediately called the little brother who had calmed down, and he pushed away the delicate little secret in his arms and walked quickly downstairs. After understanding the cause and effect of the matter, the other party decided to give Yi Cheng such a privilege. There is not only one adventurers guild, but generally there will be an adventurers guild in a slightly larger town, and every year the headquarters will conduct performance appraisals of the adventurers guilds in various places. The stronger the adventurers gathered in this town, the more and more difficult the tasks completed every year, which is naturally a good thing for the guild leader. So after discovering that Yi Cheng was a young man with a promising future, the guild president magnanimously stated that he did not need compensation from Yi Cheng, and even gave him the privilege of receiving high-level tasks. However, the adventurer's level, even if he is the guild leader, cannot use his privileges to directly upgrade Yi Cheng to the corresponding level. Adventurers need to complete corresponding indicators before the adventurer level can be gradually improved. This is the rule of the Adventurer Guild, and he has no choice. However, Yi Cheng is quite indifferent to this. He has never been very interested in things like fame. His current goal is to make money. As long as he can receive high-level tasks, he can make money quickly. Whether you want to quickly understand this different world or strengthen yourself, money is essential. The two A-level tasks that Yi Cheng accepted were to conquer a certain poisonous monster and the other to conquer a recently discovered underground maze. The poison monster is said to be a huge lizard. The gas it breathes out from the poison sacs on its body has had a great impact on the surrounding villages, and many people have been poisoned. As for the underground maze, it was discovered not long ago. Judging from the levels of monsters that appear in the maze, the level of the maze is not high, but the guard boss inside is an extremely difficult monster. Because the other party was only afraid of fire magic, the guild leader thought that he was proficient in fire magic after learning about Yi Cheng's red fire cannon, so he entrusted Yi Cheng with him. Whether it's slaying poisonous monsters or conquering underground labyrinths, it's not a task that can be completed overnight. After all, looking at the distance alone, it's impossible to get back and forth in the same day. Yi Cheng doesn't want to eat unappetizing fire-roasted animal meat anymore, so necessary food and fresh water supplies are a must. In terms of equipment, although Yi City doesn't need any armor, a decent knife is also a must. The bone knife in Yi Cheng's hand was polished by the ribs of the monster beasts he had killed. When he split the red fireball, he couldn't withstand the magic power of Yi Cheng, so when he slashed the canacrack, he already broken into powder. Yi Cheng was penniless, let alone a handy weapon, and couldn't even afford food and water. In the end, he had no choice but to shamelessly borrow money from Sonia again. After all, I've eaten the soft rice, do I still care about eating one bowl or two bowls? The long sword he got from the weapons shop was naturally not comparable to his own Zanpakuto, but it was not even a bit stronger than the previous bone sword. After purchasing weapons and a large amount of food, Yi Cheng was not in a hurry to set off immediately, but first went to the house that Sonia lent him temporarily. After tidying up his room a little, Yi Cheng finally got ready to leave after closing the door. It is a pity that Yi Cheng has not met the other powerful and beautiful tenant that Sonia mentioned, otherwise Yi Cheng would not mind getting to know her. After all, we all live under the same roof. If the girl wants to change the lampshade or open the sewer in the future, Ye Cheng is still willing to help. 5 days later, on a grassland hundreds of kilometers south of the town, Yi Cheng, holding a map in his hand, finally arrived at the habitat of the entrusted poison monster. In the past few days, Yi Cheng first went to the so-called underground maze, and in just half a day, he easily penetrated the maze that was said to be only accessible to A-level adventurers. The Warcraft boss guarding the bottom floor of the maze is a huge ice python that can release extremely low-temperature breath. When Night City arrived, they saw many adventurers who had turned into ice sculptures and seemed to be completely lifeless. Obviously, these people were adventurers who had failed to conquer the maze before. Although the interests of adventurers are huge, and if you are lucky, you can sometimes make a fortune just by going out, but this is also a job of tying your head around your neck, and you may end up dying. These people who are frozen into ice sculptures adventurers are the best example. Sensing the arrival of the intruder, the ice python immediately let out a threatening hiss at Yi City. The intuition of Warcraft is much stronger than that of humans. When this ice python, which is the guardian boss, saw Night City, it realized that the humans in front of it were not easy to deal with. It was not at the same level as the previous miscellaneous fish, so it attempted to in this way, Night City was scared away. Unfortunately, Yi Cheng was indifferent to the threat of the ice python and slowly pulled out the long knife from his waist. The imagined fierce battle did not happen, because in Yi City's view, the ice python's strength was at most about the same as Killian in the Death World. Although its ice breath move was somewhat interesting, it was not much. Under the bombardment of the red fire cannon and blue fire pendant of the Ghost Road in Night City, this huge ice python could only hold on in the end. Within a minute, he drank his hatred and died. After collecting some rare materials from the ice python and finding proof to prove that he successfully conquered the maze, Yi Cheng hurried to the next destination with the loot. After several days of traveling, when Yi Cheng came to the plain where he was now and found the so-called poison-type monster, everyone was stunned. Looking at the huge creature lying at the entrance of a cave and snoring, Yi Cheng was speechless. Although he had just come to the other world not long ago, he also knew that the huge creature in front of him was definitely not huge, as the intelligence said, lizard. This is a dragon from another world. No matter which way you look at it, this thing has nothing to do with a lizard. No, the Western dragon does look a bit like a large lizard, but whose lizard has both horns and wings. Quote, according to the information he had obtained from the Adventurers Guild, the poisonous monster he wanted to defeat this time was a large lizard-type monster about 3 meters in size. Its ability is to release various poisonous mist, and its strength is about the level that an A-level adventurer can conquer. But when Yi Cheng saw the deity, he looked at the rough patterns on the commission document in his hand, and then he understood exactly what it meant. The pattern is for reference only. Please refer to the actual situation for the actual object. Close hollow corner bracket. According to the information, it was only 5 meters in size, but now the creature in Yi Cheng's eyes was at least over 15 meters long. Moreover, the so-called lizard monster now seems to be obviously deviated. Even if the opponent is not a pure dragon monster, it is at least a subspecies dragon. No matter in which world, dragons are at the top of the food chain, and the huge purple dragon-shaped creature in front of Yecheng cannot be an A-level existence no matter how you look at it. Either the information is wrong or I've been tricked. The original 5-meter lizard-like monster, even if it takes hormones, it is impossible to grow into this appearance within a few days. Quote, when Yecheng said he was tricked, he didn't mean that he was tricked by the Adventurers Guild, but that he was tricked by the local villagers or lords who issued the commission. This is nothing new. After all, the commission fees for subjugating a lizard monster with a body size of 5 meters and a strength of A-level are completely different from those of a subspecies poison dragon with a body length of more than 15 meters. By lying about the difficulty of the commission, the cost can be appropriately reduced. If the adventurers who come to attack can kill the opponent, then they will undoubtedly make a lot of money. If the crusade fails, the worst they can do is find an excuse to say that their previous judgment was wrong and that the power of Warcraft is much stronger than they knew before, and they can just pay more money to increase the safe level. As for the dead adventurers, who cares? After all, being an adventurer is such a profession, isn't it? Seeing that the actual situation was far different from the intelligence, Yecheng was naturally not in the habit of being regarded as a traitor by others, so he turned around and prepared to leave. However, just as he was about to leave, he found an elf girl with long orange hair and extremely beautiful appearance, slowly approaching the poisonous demonic dragon with a sword. Is it another adventurer who accepted the commission? Is she planning to conquer this poisonous dragon? The elf girl is wearing a leather dress with black and yellow as the main colors. She has a good-looking appearance that can be called a beauty, even in this other world where handsome men and beautiful women are everywhere. Yecheng originally wanted to leave. It wasn't that he didn't have the courage to challenge the poisonous dragon, but that he didn't want to be a hero. So he originally wanted to find the local village to explain the situation and increase the remuneration appropriately. In short, if he didn't increase the money, he would definitely not work in vain. However, he never imagined that a competitor would actually appear now. The location of the demonic poison dragon is much further than the previous underground maze. It took Yi City 2 full days to get here, and then it took nearly half a day to use the map to find the demonic poison dragon. Time. You should know that it only took him less than half a day to conquer the first underground maze that was commissioned. After wasting so much time, Yecheng naturally didn't want to return empty-handed, but before he could complete negotiations with the local entrusted village, the elf girl had already gone up to attack the poisonous dragon. If the other party really killed the poisonous dragon, wouldn't he? Going home empty-handed. When he thought of this, Yecheng was in no hurry to leave. On the one hand, he was worried that his prey would be intercepted, and on the other hand, he also wanted to see who this really strong man from the other world was. What level? Of course, Yecheng would not recognize Rex's level as a strong person from another world. As for this orange-haired elf girl, Yi City could not make a specific judgment yet. But when the other party saw the huge size of the demonic poison dragon and the powerful aura it exuded, he still dared to challenge it alone. It was obvious that he had a certain degree of confidence in his own strength. Roar! An angry dragon roar interrupted Yecheng's random thoughts, and the elf girl on the field now held a long sword in her hand and launched a challenge to the poisonous dragon. As an elf, the girl can naturally use magic, and her level is quite good. She even has some abilities that seem to be the secrets of the elves. Even the swordsmanship she used was remarkable in Yecheng's eyes. All in all, in terms of combat power, the elf girl in front of him now should be able to fight dozens or 20 Rexes without any pressure. As Yecheng had guessed at the beginning, the demonic poison dragon was actually not a pure dragon species, but just a subspecies. Just like demihumans such as orcs, this poisonous dragon seems to be just the product of a hybrid between a giant dragon and other races. However, even so, almost any monster that can be related to dragons or has dragon blood is an existence that cannot be underestimated. The elf girl's strength is quite outstanding. She used her agility to nimbly avoid the various attacks of the poisonous dragon. She also used the long sword in her hand to leave scars on the poisonous dragon's body. However, since the opponent is called the demon poison dragon, its characteristics are naturally not only the dragon's powerful body and strong scales. After being completely irritated by the elf girl's provocative behavior, the demonic poison dragon also began to increase its attacks. A large amount of corrosive purple poisonous mist spewed out from the mouth of the demonic poison dragon, and instantly enveloped an area several kilometers in radius. This place was originally a grassland area, but when the poisonous dragon sprayed out these corrosive poisonous mist, the surrounding vegetation withered and withered almost instantly. The originally endless grassland turned into a bare wasteland in an instant. As the elf girl who bore the brunt, when the poisonous dragon sprayed out the poisonous mist, she responded immediately and used magic power to form a protective shield around her body for defense. But what the elf girl never expected was that these corrosive poisonous mist gases were so corrosive that they could corrode even magic protective shields. The elf girl had already consumed a lot of magic power in order to fight the poisonous dragon, including the flying magic. Now that she was in the poisonous mist, her magic power consumption would soon be unable to keep up. The poisonous mist of the demonic poison dragon is very corrosive. Just look at the surrounding plants and they are instantly corroded and withered. If the body is exposed to such an environment, the consequences can be imagined. Moreover, the poisonous mist permeates the surroundings. Just to ensure that she is not affected by the poisonous mist, the elf girl has to maintain the consumption of the magic shield. Under this situation, the longer the battle lasts, the more natural it will be. The elf girl is getting worse and worse. On the contrary, although the demonic poison dragon is only a subspecies of dragon, its huge size is not just simply big. The magical power it possesses is also quite astonishing. Obviously, this poisonous dragon is also a guy with a certain IQ. It did not use its killing move before, just to consume the elf girl's magical power to a certain extent and ensure that the opponent has no remaining power to escape from his grasp again. Judging from the current situation, the elf girl's defeat is almost a foregone conclusion. The poisonous fog covers the surrounding area for several kilometers. Just escaping from such a distance is already extremely difficult for the elf girl, let alone her always be on guard against sneak attacks from the poisonous dragon. The elf girl's magic power gradually began to increase, and the magic shield protecting her body became weaker and weaker due to the consumption of magic power, and even began to corrode her clothes, so that a large area of her fair skin was exposed. And what's even worse is that the corrosive ability of the poisonous dragon's poisonous mist that comes into direct contact with the body can also be defended by a magic shield, but all living things need to breathe, whether humans or elves. Due to the fierce battle, the elf girl had just inhaled a large amount of toxic gases around her, and now her brain had begun to become confused and trance-like. Is it still too impulsive to challenge the poisonous dragon alone? It seems that I can't stop here. Living in the highly corrosive poisonous mist, not only the magic power is almost exhausted, but even the consciousness is beginning to blur now. Sutraluchira Zager Runnel Rulea Agran Zelga Elgar. I really couldn't imagine the possibility of a comeback, so I began to wait unwillingly for death to come. Really, if you're not strong enough, don't come out to intercept him. This guy is my prey, okay. I don't know if they would be willing to pay more after killing this big guy and dragging its body to those villages. Quote. Although the demonic poison dragon has an IQ that far exceeds that of ordinary monsters, it does not have the ability to speak. Naturally, the voice that appears next to her ears at this moment can only be a third person besides her and the demonic poison dragon. And when Sutri Luchira Zager Runnel Lulia Agran Zelga Elgar opened her eyes, she found a man with white hair standing in front of her at this moment. Chapter 21. This poisonous dragon is very powerful. You are no match for it, so you should run away quickly. Sutraluchira Zager Runnel Lulia Aglan Zelga Elgar didn't know who the white-haired man who appeared in front of him was, but there was no doubt that the other person was a human being. And it's not that she looks down on humans, it's just the level of human adventurers. She is quite clear. Although saying this is a bit bragging, she has been active on the mainland for so long, and she has never seen a few human adventurers whose strength can compare with hers. In front of the demonic poison dragon, he was just like a plaything. Although the opponent looked quite powerful, he was probably no match for the demonic poison dragon. Whether it is its opponent or not, you have to fight it to know, at least judging from what I have just been watching. In addition to the fact that this guy can spray poisonous mist and fly, and has a thicker skin and thicker flesh, it doesn't seem to be a big deal. Quote. What the elf girl said made Yi Chang, who finally decided to take action, finally show a look of relief on his face. In the face of a dead end, the other party still wanted to not involve Yi Cheng and let Yi Cheng escape on his own, which showed that the other party was at least not a bad guy, and it was not in vain for him to rescue him. Roar. And when Yi Cheng was thinking this, the poisonous dragon in the air seemed to understand what Yi Cheng had just said. Feeling that its dignity had been trampled on, it also let out a roar and pounced towards Yi Cheng from the air. Down. Although it is only a subspecies of dragon, it also has the blood of the dragon clan flowing through it. How can it be tolerated by a mere human being? Be careful, get out of the way. Seeing the poisonous dragon swooping down, the elf girl did not forget to remind Yi Cheng to stay away. However, she was only halfway out of her words when the scene that happened in front of her made her so surprised that she even lost her words. Faced with the poisonous demon dragon that flew down from the air with its dragon wings, the white-haired man in front of her did not choose to dodge. Instead, he showed a fighting spirit and took the initiative to charge forward with a knife. And what's even more surprising is that when faced with the demonic poison dragon, which was over 15 meters long and dived at high altitude, Yi Cheng, whose physique was far inferior to the opponent, was not directly knocked away. Instead, he used the long knife in his hand to block it. He caught the opponent's dragon horn that hit him. Ding 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 ding. The horns of the demonic poison dragon collided with the long knife in Yi Cheng's hand. Not only did they make a series of clashing sounds of golden iron, but they even spattered a large number of sparks. Naturally, Yi Cheng could not perfectly withstand the huge impact caused by the dragon that rushed down. Therefore, when he used his long knife to resist the opponent's diving impact, Yi Cheng's body was also fully pushed back by the poisonous dragon. Pushed hundreds of meters away. His feet plowed 2 deep ravines on the ground that had become wasteland. But even though she was pushed 100 meters away by the demonic poison dragon, such a scene still scared the elf girl to death. The opponent is a dragon with a body length of more than 15 meters. Even if it is a subspecies dragon, it is still a dragon type of monster. Among the monsters of the same size, the demonic poison dragon can easily crush monsters of the same size as it based on its physical strength alone. But now the opponent's dive was blocked head-on by a human. No, I should say that man, is he really a human? You must know that when she, an elf, fought against the poisonous dragon, she tried to rely on her speed advantage to fight with the opponent, fighting the dragon in hand-to-hand combat. Is this a fighting method that normal people would choose? Son, can you tell me that you still have emotions? But the fact is, as I said, except for your larger body, smelly breath, and corrosiveness, there is really nothing special about you. Being ridiculed by Night City again, the demonic poison dragon's anger value once again exceeded the limit. The human in front of it not only mocked it, but also mocked it twice. How can it be tolerated? Looking at the Yi City in front of him, the demonic poison dragon didn't even think about it. He just opened his bloody mouth and breathed out a breath that had been accumulated in his body for at least 100 years. Bah! The poisonous mist spurted out. This time, the poisonous mist sprayed by the demonic poison dragon was infinitely stronger than before, both in terms of corrosive intensity and richness of the poisonous mist. The purpose of the previous diffusion attack of poisonous mist was to cover the surrounding environment and prevent prey from escaping. But now the poisonous mist spewed out by the demonic poison dragon is more like a concentrated breath attack. Moreover, Yi Cheng had used a long knife to hold the horn of the poisonous dragon before, and now the distance between them could be said to be very close. If the breath of the poisonous dragon breath directly hit his face, even if Yi Cheng, like the elf girl before, used magical power to build a protective shield, is almost useless. Because the more corrosive poisonous mist explodes violently like this, it will instantly penetrate Yecheng's protective shield, and corrode all of Yecheng's flesh, and even bones in an instant. The proud son of heaven, the city wall built of iron, the dragons move, the lions roar, the tigers roar, and the wolves run, cutting off the heaven and the earth before they collapse. The 81 of the binding Tao breaking the sky. Quote, almost as soon as the demonic poison dragon opened its upper and lower jaws, Yi Cheng had already predicted the opponent's next move, so when the demonic poison dragon spit out poisonous mist from its mouth, Yi Cheng also quickly finished chanting the ghost path spell, and stretched out his fingers to draw a transparent wall in front of him. The purple poisonous mist was like a torrent, directly impacting Night City, but when it surged in front of it, it seemed to be blocked by an invisible barrier. The highly corrosive poisonous mist was completely unable to flow at this moment. Arrive in front of Night City. Although they are very close, this transparent barrier is like a chasm, completely isolating Night City from the poisonous fog. Yi Cheng's spiritual pressure. The magic power is much stronger than that of the demonic poison dragon, and this is the number 81 ghost path that he has fully chanted. Even though the poisonous mist has strong corrosive properties, it is still unable to break through at this moment. A seemingly weak transparent barrier. And just when the demonic poison dragon was also puzzled by the scene in front of him, showing human shock, Yi Cheng also sheathed the long knife in his hand, lowered his body steadily, and looked at it seriously. The possessed poisonous dragon said, "Now that you have used your special skills, it is your turn to learn my swordsmanship." Like a meandering snake, the materialized magic power emanates from Yi Cheng, accompanied by an invisible aura that spreads out in all directions with Yi City as the center. As the poisonous dragon at the top of the biological chain, at this moment, Yi Cheng could vaguely feel an extremely dangerous sense of death crisis. At this moment, it has clearly felt that the human in front of it is different from the miscellaneous fish that it used to feed its belly. It is a dangerous existence that can definitely kill him. So without any hesitation, it opened its wings again and flew directly into the sky. Now it just wants to stay away from that dangerous human as much as possible. It's too late to run away now. It's too late to run away now. Yagami Ryu draws his sword and kills the flying dragon. The light of the drawn sword burst out from the scabbard, leaving a silver stream of light in the air like a sudden glimpse. However, at the moment the air exploded, an extremely slender, but extremely fast slash struck, but the sword flew out from Yi Cheng's hand and exploded towards the demonic poison dragon which had flown very far away. The demonic poison dragon, which had already flown very far away, saw that the human before did not bully him and chased him, so he thought he had escaped. Now that it has flown such a long distance, it is obviously impossible for the human to catch up with him unless he uses long-range magic to shoot him down. The dragon scales on its body are very resistant to magic. It is difficult for ordinary magic to cause effective damage to it, so it should be out of danger this time. But just when the demonic poison dragon was thinking this, its strong sense of death crisis suddenly came to its heart for no reason. But when it looked back to see what happened, a bright stream of light suddenly occupied it. It's all in sight. Before he even had time to react, the blue stream of light had already passed through the body of the poisonous dragon, and then nothing more. The demonic poison dragon, which was still flying in the air, began to lose its original color in its eyes at this moment. As a breeze blew by, the demonic poison dragon's huge body was instantly split into two in the air. Boom! It wasn't until the body of the poisonous dragon that was cut in half in the air crashed to the ground that the elf girl on the other side finally reacted. And looking at the corpse of the demonic poison dragon that was brutally dismembered not far away, his expression at this moment still remained in a state of shock. When Yi Cheng appeared, she hoped that Yi Cheng would not die in vain, because for human adventurers, the demon poison dragon was definitely not a target that could be defeated alone. However, what the elf girl never expected was that Yi Cheng was so powerful. Not only could he fight head-on with a subspecies of demonic dragon, he could even use such superb martial arts to cut the demonic poisonous dragon in half with a single blow. The power of overthrowing the mountain, breaking through the evil, there is light in the crystal, and the footsteps are far away from the thunder peaks, returning to the ground at night under the sea of clouds, turning the mountain upside down. The 73 of the Binding Tao, the overturned mountain crystal. Quote. Just when the elf girl was still stunned by Yi City's victory over the demonic poison dragon, she discovered that a crystal defense shield like an inverted triangular pyramid suddenly enveloped her. At the beginning, when the elf girl saw that she was imprisoned, she thought that Yi Cheng had ulterior motives, so she supported her already weak body, struggled to hold the sword in her hand and stood up, with a vigilant look on her face. Looking towards Night City. Originally I didn't want to meddle in other people's business, but now that I've taken action, if I let you die here, all my previous efforts will be almost in vain. If you don't deal with the poison in your body, you will probably follow that guy's footsteps soon. Also, please stop moving around. There is not much fabric left on your body. If you move around casually, it will be dazzling and I will not be able to concentrate on treating you. It's useless to try to compensate me with seduction. I saved your life and the current treatment costs, all of which need to be calculated separately. Quote. Hearing what Yi Cheng said, the elf girl originally had a vigilant face. After she lowered her head and looked at the current state of her body, a bright red color visible to the naked eye quickly dyed her cheeks. Then he let out a shy squeak, quickly squatted down, and stared at Yi Cheng in front of him with extremely embarrassed eyes. Who are you and why are you so strong? And what kind of magic is this? It can actually perfectly defend against the poisonous mist of the poisonous dragon. When she discovered that the inverted triangular pyramid crystal covering herself was not to imprison herself, but to help herself, who had exhausted her magic power, resist the corrosive poisonous mist that filled the surroundings, the elf girl finally began to relax her vigilance down. And when Yi Cheng used the return to help the elf girl treat her injuries and remove the toxins from her body, the elf girl was even more surprised. Although almost everyone in this world can use magic, there are not many people who master recovery and healing magic. Generally, people who are injured when going out on adventures use various potions to recover. The elf girl possesses the secret technique of the elf royal family that can store items. Her storage space actually stores recovery potions and detoxification potions. But for some reason, when Yi Cheng asked for treatment, the elf girl somehow failed to mention it. No, are you a curious baby? There are so many reasons. I am so handsome and so strong. Is there anything strange about this? Don't you know you can't just pry into other people's information? Besides, you didn't pay any information fees or anything, so why should I tell you so much? Quote. Hearing what Yi Cheng said, the elf girl was speechless. After a brief contact, she had basically determined what kind of person the guy in front of her was, so she casually reached into her storage space and took out of the bag filled with gold coins was thrown to the ground. I have paid all your so-called treatment fees and intelligence fees in one lump sum. Can you answer my questions now? When he saw that the elf girl could actually take out objects from the void, Yi Cheng was shocked to discover that there was actually space magic in this world. And soon, he was also attracted by the bag of coins on the ground. From the sound of the bag falling to the ground, and the several bright golden coins falling outside, Yi Cheng was shocked to find that this special it's actually a big bag full of gold coins. She is actually a rich woman again, and a super rich woman at that. Why do you say that? Because the 2 A-level commissions that Yi Cheng received, conquering the underground maze, and conquering the poisonous lizard monster, the rewards were only 10 gold coins and 15 gold coins respectively. According to the standard of living in this world, 1 gold coin is enough for a person to eat and drink luxuriously for more than 3 days. And the elf girl in front of Yi City, oh no, it's the elf rich woman. The bag of gold coins she just threw out contained nearly 100 gold coins, which was equivalent to nearly 10 A-level commissions from him. At this moment, Yi Cheng suddenly felt that saving this man was really worth it. Hello boss, my name is Nanyacheng. Do you think this inverted mountain crystal is too simple? I can definitely make a luxurious and comfortable version. And the return I just used for treatment actually has a more luxurious version. Does the boss want to experience it? Quote. Seeing Yi Cheng's attitude change instantly when he threw out the bag of gold coins, the elf girl was obviously stunned. Your name is Nanyacheng. What a strange name, but that's not important anymore. Can you answer my previous question first? The elf girl was really curious about the magic that Yi Cheng had used before, because she was quite knowledgeable, but she had never seen any of the magic that Yi Cheng had used before. And it is obvious that even her own magic shield will be corroded by the poisonous mist of the poisonous dragon, but the magic of Night City can perfectly defend. No, it was only now that the elf girl discovered that even if she does not use magic defense, she is exposed to the poisonous mist. The Night City in the movie seems to have no impact at all. The magic I use should be regarded as a special kind of magic in the system after all. You can call it Keto. So far, I am probably the only person in the world who has mastered this kind of magic system. You can understand it as some kind of secret technique. As for why I am not affected by the poisonous mist of the poisonous dragon, it is because I have the ability of magic immunity. No matter how strong the poisonous mist of the demonic poison dragon is, it is probably composed of magic power, so it is normal that it cannot affect me. Quote. When she heard that Yi City had a skill called magic immunity, that could be called a bug, the elf girl didn't believe it at first. After all, most of the world uses magic. If what Yi Cheng said is true, wouldn't Yi Cheng, who has the ability of magic immunity, be almost semi-invincible in this world? Stop lying. When faced with the poisonous mist breath of the poisonous dragon, you obviously used your secret magic to defend against it. Obviously, the scene the elf girl was talking about was the scene when Yi Cheng faced the poisonous dragon's poisonous mist breath at close range and used the ghost path, breaking sky, to defend. Oh, that's what you're talking about. That's because although my body is completely immune to the effects of magic, the clothes on my body are not. The breath of the poisonous dragon is very corrosive. If I were sprayed at close range, my state would be similar to yours now. Quote. Hearing Yi Cheng mention this again, the elf girl's face turned red to her ears again. However, just as she was about to say something more, the so-called third party appeared here again. It stands to reason that this place was originally a wilderness, and since the demonic poison dragon lives here, people from the surrounding villages have long designated this place as a restricted area. No one else should be coming at this time. However, when Yi Cheng and the elf girl showed vigilance on their faces and looked at the increasingly clear figures in the poisonous mist, the vigilant expressions on their faces finally began to change into different states. Yi Cheng, Shima Yosuke, elf girl, orc. That's right, the person who suddenly passed through the poisonous fog and appeared here was actually another world traveler, Shima Yosuke, who had been separated from Yi City before and hadn't been seen for more than a week. The other party is now wearing white tattered casual clothes, with a red rag like a scarf wrapped around his neck. As for why Yi Cheng looked at Shima Yosuke with a questioning tone after just being apart for more than a week. That's entirely because just over a week has passed, but from Yi Cheng's point of view, the changes in Shima Yosuke's body are really huge. The original Shima Yosuke said that in this different world where handsome men and beautiful women roamed the place, he was an unattractive character, but his appearance was average. But now, he is not only skinny, but also has sunken cheekbones. He looks at least 20 years older than before. If Yosuke hadn't had a profound influence on Shima Yosuke, he probably wouldn't have recognized him as the ordinary-looking boy from another world before. Yi City, you are actually here. It seems that you must have defeated the boss first. And this is, I'm sorry, it seems that I have disturbed you, so I will leave first. Quote. Shima Yosuke was quite happy to meet Yi Cheng again after 10 days. After all, they were both visitors from another world, and Yi City could be regarded as his fellow villager. Shima Yosuke originally wanted to catch up with Yoroki and show off how he survived during this period and successfully started the game. But when he saw the golden triangular pyramidal crystal standing in the poisonous mist, and the ragged elf girl in it, Shima Yosuke showed a clear expression for a moment and then turned around to leave. Although he doesn't know much about this aspect, he is still a young man with good physical and mental health, so he naturally understands what is happening now. And Shima Yosuke also thinks that this scene is quite normal, just like the clearance plot that the game should have. After the player worked hard to defeat the evil dragon and rescued the princess, he naturally wanted to marry the princess and live happily together. There are similar games of this type in Sega's games, so Yosuke Shima doesn't think this is something strange. Wait a minute, I think you must have misunderstood something. I have nothing to do with this guy. Yosuke, don't leave in a hurry. Originally, I thought that after completing this mission, I would come to the city to see how you are doing. It seems like you have changed a lot now compared to 10 days ago, ah. Quote. The previous sentence was shouted by the elf girl, because she felt that if the misunderstanding was not explained clearly, her innocence would be almost destroyed. As for the person who spoke in an indifferent tone later, he was naturally from Yi City. In his opinion, nothing happened, so he didn't need to explain anything at all. In his opinion, Shima Yosuke's pure game a dead otaku probably wouldn't care about such a thing. The elf girl found a piece of clothing from the storage space and quickly changed into it, walked up to Shima Yosuke again, stretched out her hand and emphasized again, "Orc, let me tell you, I have nothing to do with this money maniac. Although it is true that he saved me, nothing like what you imagined happened between us. Moreover, this guy is both money-obsessed and snobbish. Although he is indeed good-looking and very strong, I don't like people like him." Quote. After hearing the elf girl's defense, Shima Yosuke did not show an understanding expression, but looked at the girl's eyes, and suddenly became a little dissatisfied, and said, "Miss, I think it's a bit too much for you to speak like this. No matter what, Yi Cheng saved your life, didn't he? Even if you really don't like him, at least you shouldn't call him money-obsessed and snobbish. When you clear the game, you will be rewarded, and when you complete the mission, you will be rewarded with money or equipment. Isn't this normal? Besides, I think the people in Yi City are very nice. He saved my life once before and even gave me half of the little money he had." Quote. The elf girl is obviously a tsundere. However, although the era Shima Yosuke traveled to was also a modern society, the tsundere attribute was not yet prevalent at that time, so at this moment Shima Yosuke naturally felt that the elf girl was a bit unreasonable. After hearing Shima Yosuke's words, the elf girl was obviously anxious, because what she wanted to express was obviously not like this, but the orc didn't seem very smart and completely misinterpreted her meaning. It doesn't matter that Shima Yosuke misunderstood him. The elf girl didn't care too much at first. After all, she wasn't familiar with the other party. She was worried that Yi Cheng had also misunderstood her meaning, so she looked nervously at her at the moment. Next to the Night City. Yosuke, you can't say that, to be honest. When hearing Yi Cheng's response, the elf girl was inexplicably relieved. Fortunately, Yi City was different from the orc and did not misinterpret her meaning. However, just when the elf girl was thinking this, the second half of Yi Cheng's words almost made her angry. You can't say anything. After all, she is a rich boss, so it's normal for her to have a weird temper. Anyway, as long as she gives me money, I don't care what her attitude is towards me. Quote. For the other party saving her from the poisonous dragon, the elf girl felt that she should have expressed her gratitude just now. It was just because of her personality that she did not express her gratitude clearly, but anyone who was not a fool should be able to see it. However, the two guys in front of her were obviously not ordinary people. One was a guy who fell in the eyes of money, and the other looked at the analysis seriously, and finally nodded in approval. So, this is a special mission based entirely on monetary rewards, so you can completely ignore the attitude of the characters in the plot, as long as you get the reward, right? It's true. It's just a chance encounter anyway. As long as you can complete the task and get the reward, the rest is secondary. Quote. Hearing Shima Yosuke's serious analysis, the elf girl on the side was immediately speechless. So you are a watermelon. Her client is still here. Is it appropriate to say such a thing in front of her? My name is Sutraluchila Zegarunelulea Agranzelga Algar, and as you can see, I am an elf. Nanye City, remember this name well, we will meet again. Quote. The elf girl originally wanted to know more about Night City, but if this half-orc was here, she always found it difficult to continue the conversation. So after telling her name, the elf girl planned to leave first. However, when they heard the elf girl announce her name, both Yi Cheng and Shima Yosuke were obviously confused in the wind. This was the first time they had ever seen such a ridiculously long name, and the other party asked Yi Cheng to remember his name, which was too difficult for Yi Cheng. Wait a minute, can you say your name again? I didn't hear it clearly just now. Sutriru Kira Zager Runal Lulia Agran Zelga Algar, do you remember it now? Yi Cheng. Yosuke, do you remember Q? Shima Yosuke. Winking face, what was she doing just now, chanting a magic spell? Even though the elf girl reported her name twice, Yi Cheng still couldn't remember her name. But he really can't blame him for this. The ghost spells are not short, but Yi Cheng can remember them. The point is that this thing is a complete sentence after all. But the elf girl's name is not only long, but the words are all unrelated and pieced together like a Buddhist scripture. Who can remember this? Moreover, every time he calls the other person, he has to read out such a long list of names. Yi Cheng is even afraid of the shortness of breath, and may even bite his tongue. If there is a scene where a person is about to die and gives his last words, just by reading such a name twice, there will be no chance to say the rest. I see, your name is Kui. It's a very good name. Elf girl. Winking face, it's not Sui, it's Sutralukira Zegarunal Rulea Aglan Zelga Algar. Yi Cheng. Okay, I understand, Kui. Are you deliberately trying to quarrel with me? That's why I said, it's not Kui, it's Su Kui Lukai Lazi Garunyal Lulea Granzel. Kui, you know, the meaning of Kui is emerald, just as beautiful as your eyes. And in our area, only friends who trust each other will give each other nicknames and address each other. You can also call me Yechung. Isn't that okay, Kui? Quote. The elf girl originally wanted to emphasize what she was saying, but was interrupted by Yi Cheng. After understanding the meaning of Yi Cheng's words, the elf girl, oh no, Kui's face also turned bright red at a speed visible to the naked eye. If that's the case, then there's nothing you can do about it. I'm not asking you to do this, but you insist on giving me a nickname. After leaving such a sentence, the elf girl Kui turned around and left. Even as she turned around, she stumbled and almost fell. She didn't know it was because of excessive shyness, but because she was weak due to exhaustion of magic power. But in short, the two straight men present did not pay too much attention to the girl's departure. In their opinion, the elf girl's original name was too inconvenient, and the current name Kui is much better than the original name. Yechung, I haven't seen you for about 10 days. You are still as strong as before. Have you defeated the poisonous dragon that lives here? Yosuke Shima appeared here originally to defeat the poison dragon. However, he was not entrusted by the Adventurers Guild. He only thought that the opponent was a boss after learning about the existence of the poison dragon, so he came here to upgrade and fight the boss. Equipped. Well, that's the corpse over there. I don't know what's going on. This poisonous dragon is obviously dead, but the poisonous mist it sprayed before still permeates the surroundings. If there is no way to dispel the poisonous mist, the surrounding villagers who entrusted them may have to default on their debts. Quote. Looking at the purple poisonous mist that filled the surroundings, Yi Cheng regretted not stopping the elf girl Kui from leaving just now. There was no purifying ghost path in the ghost path, so looking at the poisonous mist that enveloped the surroundings, he had a headache as to what he should do. If you want to clean up the poisonous mist, I can do it with wind magic, rapid wind transport. Under Yi Cheng's slightly surprised gaze, Shima Yosuke first recited an extremely lengthy spell, and then strong winds began to blow around him. These strong winds are not irregular, but blow toward the center from all directions. The poisonous mist is a gas. It will naturally move when blown by strong winds. The wind from all directions quickly compressed the surrounding poisonous mist into a sphere. In the end, this sphere compressing the poisonous mist was captured by Shima Yosuke. All the glass bottles that were taken out were stored inside. According to Shima Yosuke, he might be able to use it when facing enemies in the future. Just the hand exposed by Shima Yosuke made Yi Cheng very surprised at this moment. You must know that 10 days ago, when he saw Shima Yosuke for the first time, he was still a noob with his butt stuck out and being wasted. But now only about 10 days have passed, and the other party has not only changed his appearance, but even his strength has been completely transformed. Yosuke, what happened to you in the past 10 days? Why do I feel that you are a little different now than before? Although the former Shima Yosuke looked unattractive, he could still be seen as a high-spirited young man. But now, in the eyes of Yi City, the Shima Yosuke is just an old man who has gone through many vicissitudes of life. Yi Cheng was very curious as to what kind of experience could cause such a big change in the other person's temperament in just 10 days. When talking about this matter, Shima Yosuke actually had a confident smile on his face, and looked at Yi Cheng and said, Yechung, I finally started successfully. Although the process was a bit tortuous, overall, it was a good start. Quote. Seeing the reminiscence look on Shima Yosuke's face, Yi Cheng also made a look of listening. At the beginning, Yi Cheng's expression was normal, but when Shima Yosuke continued to talk about his experience after being separated from him, Yi City's expression became more and more weird, and he kept complaining in his heart, this is actually a good start. After parting ways with Yashura, Yashura went to the Adventurers Guild, while Shima Yosuke went to the tavern in the town. Compared to Yosuke, who came to this world with a certain level of strength and could satisfy his hunger by killing monsters, Shima Yosuke had obviously been hungry for a long time in the forest. So after getting half a bag of copper coins from Yi City, Shima Yosuke's first thought was to fill his pockets. There is a reason for choosing a tavern. Generally, in games, places like taverns are the best place to hear some important gossip and find out information. They have just arrived in this different world, so intelligence collection is very important in the early stage. Because of Yi Cheng's reminder, Shima Yosuke also covered his appearance to a certain extent before coming to the tavern. When he entered the tavern, although others were curious about why he covered his head and face, they were not too surprised or even asked. Because he didn't know the currency exchange rates and consumption levels in this world. At the beginning, Shima Yosuke, like Yi Cheng, thought that the big bag of copper coins was a considerable amount of wealth. With this idea in mind, he generously ordered a large table of delicious dishes. After all, if he spent more, the tavern owner would naturally be more polite to him, and he could ask for more information from the other party. So far, Yosuke Shima's actions and logic are correct. Because he has rich game experience, he is quite satisfied with his handling of the opening. However, the only flaw is that during the chat with the tavern owner, Shima Yosuke finally understood the consumption level of this world. When he realized that the money he had on him now was not enough to pay for the fine wine and food on the table in front of him, Shima Yosuke thought of negotiating for a credit. It was impossible to escape the order. He had already experienced the combat power of the residents of another world before. Although the tavern owner in front of him was not an adventurer, he still had a sinister face and his arms were thicker than his thighs. He was a useless young man who was obviously no match for him. However, when Shima Yosuke said that he might not have brought enough money and was going to pay on credit first, the tavern owner's face, which was originally smiling like a chrysanthemum, began to change and become distorted in an instant. Why are you pretending to be a big-tailed wolf when you don't have money? I never accept credit here. Even if the adventurers come, as long as they eat something, they have to pay. Previously, the owner of the tavern saw Shima Yosuke's lavish spending and thought that the store would have many wealthy regular customers in the future, so he chatted so much with Shima Yosuke. But I didn't expect that the other party was a poor guy pretending to be rich, so the tavern owner's face naturally became different. Yosuke Shima looked like a weakling, but he was indeed a weakling. The owner of the tavern immediately picked up Yosuke Shima, searched him all over, and finally found all his property, a full 27 copper coins. When he saw the 27 steel coins that fell to the ground, the tavern owner's face turned green with anger. He originally thought that Shima Yosuke had the confidence to order so many meals. Even if he didn't have enough money, he wouldn't be bad. Too much. But now I saw that the good guy only had 27 steel coins, but he dared to order a table of meals worth at least 1 gold coin. And after this guy had a big meal and drink, he still dared to shamelessly say that the money was a little short. Is this the so-called shortfall? According to their Grand Bahamar currency exchange rate, 1 gold coin is equivalent to 10,000 silver coins, which is equivalent to 1 million copper coins. Just the 27 steel coins on Shima Yosuke's body, even the money to wash the dishes is probably far away, not enough. If you have the courage to eat the king's meal, you are bound to get beaten. When doing so, Shima Yosuke's wooden homemade mask that originally covered his face was quickly knocked off accidentally. Originally, the tavern owner was quite unhappy with Shima Yosuke eating the overlord meal. When he saw the mask on Shima Yosuke's face falling off and discovered that the other person was a half-orc, he naturally became even more angry. No matter what race it is, this world is not very friendly to mixed-race demi-humans, especially half-orcs who are barbaric and have little intelligence to speak of. Although they are considered demi-humans, they are actually no different from ordinary monsters and monsters. However, while the tavern owner was angry, he soon realized that Shima Yosuke, as a half-orc, could actually speak human language, and his IQ seemed to be much higher than that of ordinary half-orcs. So the same idea as Rex and his friends before quickly came to the mind of the tavern owner. Boy, don't blame me. No matter if you are an orc or not, if you go out to eat, you have to pay back the money. This is a matter of course. Since you have no money to pay the bill, then I can only sell you as a slave to the Chamber of Commerce. Talking orcs are rare, and the money you get from selling them should be enough to pay for this meal. Quote. Although Shima Yosuke kept defending that he was not a half-orc, the final result was obviously useless. Poor Shima Yosuke had just escaped from the adventurers, but he didn't expect to be sold to the slave merchant guild in the end. The only difference was that he was sold by the adventurers and the tavern owner. Talking orcs are indeed a rare breed, but what surprised the tavern owner was that the Slave Merchant Association only gave Shima Yosuke a price of 3 copper coins. This is a rare half-orc who can talk. I am so exhausted that I brought him here. The hard work alone must have cost more than 3 copper coins. Hearing the price given by the slave chamber of commerce, the tavern owner was immediately annoyed. The 27 copper coins Shima Yosuke carried before, plus the 3 copper coins he was sold for now, totaled only 30 copper coins. This is still not enough. Buying a plate is still far away from his loss. So if you were a guest yourself, would you buy this weird-looking orc? After hearing what the head of the slave chamber of commerce said, the tavern owner looked at Shima Yosuke, who was bruised and swollen, and his expression was silent. At this moment, he instantly understood why Shima Yosuke was worthless. The conversation between the two became one of Shima Yosuke's most painful memories. After mastering communication with elves and being able to use memory magic, this was the first memory that Shima Yosuke erased. If it weren't for the fact that he was telling Yi Cheng what happened after the separation, Shima Yosuke wouldn't want to recall such memories at all. Based on the idea that no matter how small a mosquito's legs are, they are still meat, the tavern owner finally sold Shima Yosuke, took the copper coins he received from selling him, and left with an unlucky look. However, Shima Yosuke, who was sold, was in a tough situation. He was first locked in a cage in an exhibition shop and then completely forgotten by the shop owner for a week. Then he was starved to the point of being so skinny that his appearance has changed. He barely managed to survive by drinking leaked rainwater. In order to maintain his mental health, he began to talk to himself in the moonlight. Because of the ability of the universal lobbyist, Shima Yosuke inadvertently communicated with the light elves, used light magic, and finally escaped. After silently listening to Shima Yosuke's experience, Yi Cheng was speechless. If he remembered correctly, Shima Yosuke seemed to have said, "A good start," to his experience before. Is this really a good start? It's a hell of a start, okay. If it were someone with a weaker will, or a guy with less luck, this start would probably have been a bust, right? As an ordinary person, he was locked up alone and starved for a week, but he was able to survive on rainwater alone. Moreover, he stayed alone in a closed and dark environment for a week, without communicating with any living creatures during this period. This guy did not go crazy, and he also successfully discovered the correct way to use his plugin. Based on this experience alone, Yi Cheng can now basically confirm that Shima Yosuke is the so-called son of the world. Even if his experience is indeed a bit hard, it is undeniable that he should be the protagonist of this world. What makes Yi Cheng even more admirable is that after experiencing such a thing, it didn't leave much psychological shadow on Shima Yosuke, which shows how strong his heart is. Compared with the week-long inhumane life of imprisonment, this guy is even more brooding about the fact that he is only worth 3 copper coins. Yecheng, your previous guess is indeed correct. The ability of the universal lobbyist can not only communicate with humans and other creatures in this world, but can even communicate with tiny elves that ordinary people cannot see. And it is precisely because of this that I can use various magics now. As long as I talk to the elves in the air and reach an agreement, I can use various types of magic. Quote. When talking about this matter, Shima Yosuke's expression was obviously very excited. After all, he has made a successful start now, and he is not completely helpless in this different world. Magic can be explained by the help of elves, but what is the magic power in you? When we first met, you were still an ordinary person, but your current increase in magic power is too outrageous. Quote. That's right, the magical power in Shima Yosuke's body is another aspect that surprised Yi Cheng. It stands to reason that even if Shima Yosuke is the son of the world, the cheating is not so outrageous, right? Only 9 days have passed. The former Shima Yosuke was an ordinary person with no physical strength. Even a stronger ordinary person from another world could blast him with one hand. But Yi Cheng was surprised to find that Shima Yosuke's magical power was quite amazing. Although it was not as good as his own, it had already surpassed the elf girl Sui just now. If judged according to the level of human adventurers, Shima Yosuke is now at least an A-level adventurer or above, and even definitely a first-class adventurer. However, this process took Shima Yosuke less than 9 days to complete the transformation from an ordinary person. After escaping from the slave chamber of commerce, a lot of things happened. I was so hungry that I had no choice but to run back to the previous forest in order to escape pursuit and obtain food. Then I accidentally entered a secret realm. After killing some monsters, I also received a reward for completing the level, a cup of colorful juice that looked pretty good. Because I was too hungry at the time, I didn't care whether I could drink it or not, so I drank it all. After that, I found that my conversation with the elves became easier. The magic I used was so powerful. It's also stronger. Quote. Hearing Shima Yosuke's explanation, Yi Cheng felt sad again. Everyone is a time traveler, why is there such a big difference? Except for the fact that Shima Yosuke was sold as a slave because his charm value was too low at the beginning, his subsequent experiences were almost like cheating, and his luck value was simply X level. And he also conquered an underground maze not long ago. Apart from the target object, there were no clues in it at all, so here comes the mysterious reward. However, when he saw Shima Yosuke with sunken cheekbones and an appearance of premature aging, Yi Cheng's heart suddenly felt balanced again. Shima Yosuke was completely exchanging looks for strength. If there was such a choice in front of Yi Cheng, he would definitely not choose it. After all, one can gradually become stronger through training, but being handsome takes a lifetime. What are your plans next? Do you want to join me in town? With your current strength, those who captured you before should not dare to do anything to you again, right? Quote. After hearing Yi Cheng's inquiry, Shima Yosuke hesitated for a while, and finally shook his head and refused. Let's forget it, I finally left somewhere, and I don't want to cause any more disturbances. And I am now looking for a way to get back to the original world. If I stay in that town all the time, I might as well travel around the world to look for clues. Quote. After that, Yi Cheng and Shima Yosuke walked together for a while and came to a village. Shima Yosuke planned to rest in this village and replenish supplies, while Yashara brought the body of the demonic poison dragon to receive his reward. Because the demonic poison dragon previously lived in this area, the poisonous mist emitted from its body caused serious pollution to the surrounding air and water. And because of this, the people in the surrounding villages had no choice but to pool together a sum of money and entrust the Adventurers Guild to send powerful adventurers to reject the poisonous dragon living here. Village Chief, can the adventurers commissioned by the Adventurers Guild really be able to deal with the poisonous dragon? The water source in the village has been completely exhausted. The poisonous river water and well water cannot irrigate the farmland at all. Sooner or later we will not be able to survive at this rate. Quote. Yes, Village Chief, have we gone too far this time? The Lord has obviously supported us with enough gold coins, so why should we lie about the difficulty of the task? Not only would this offend the Adventurers Guild, but it would also delay the successful crusade against the demonic poison dragon even longer. Quote. In the village, two young men looked at the old village chief in front of them with a look of guilt. Because their village was the largest among the surrounding villages, their village went to the Adventurers Guild to announce the commission to defeat the demonic poison dragon. As for lying about the difficulty of the task, it was the old village chief's idea. Are you idiots? That poisonous dragon is a dragon. Even if it is a subspecies, it is a genuine dragon. I don't know if there are any adventurers in the Adventurers Guild who can attack him, but in my opinion the number of such adventurers should be very rare. And the little money we have is not enough to pay the other party. So what I do is actually for the sake of our village. If the problem of the demonic poison dragon cannot be resolved, will our village need to be relocated? And these actions all cost money. If we don't set aside some funds, how can the villagers survive those difficult days after our migration? Quote. An old man in a village is like a treasure. After hearing what the old villager said, the two young men also showed the same expressions on their faces. However, at this time, a voice intervened in their conversation. I see, do you want to reserve enough funds to make a decision before taking action? As the head of a village, it is indeed quite rare for you to be able to consider such things for your own villagers. But your villagers are safe. I wonder if you have ever considered what will happen to the adventurers who came after you lied about the difficulty of the mission. Originally, what he was fighting was a 5-meter poisonous giant lizard monster, but it turned out to be a subspecies of poisonous dragon that was over 15 meters long. When adventurers who have obtained wrong information come here, there is almost no other possibility except to die, and all this is just because of your selfishness. Could it be said that the villagers in your village are human lives, and the lives of the adventurers who come here for this purpose are not human lives? Quote, previously, Yi Cheng thought that the surrounding villages lied about the difficulty of the mission simply because he was short of money. Although he loved money, he also had a bottom line and sense of propriety. He came here just to convey that the demonic poison dragon had been defeated. But after hearing the conversation just now, Yi Cheng was quite unhappy now. It turned out that these villages were not unable to pay, but simply did not believe that the adventurers could defeat the poisonous dragon, so they issued symbolic tasks to deceive the local lords, but in fact they were secretly preparing to relocate the entire village. If it weren't for him who received the task this time, and if he wasn't strong enough, Yi Cheng might have become a victim of the poisonous dragon. Who are you, and why do you care about the affairs of our village? If adventurers are not like this in the first place, besides, we do not force those adventurers to accept the commission we issued. Seeing Yi Cheng and Shima Yosuke appearing at the entrance of the village, the two young men who had been talking to the old village suddenly looked unhappy and stepped forward to drive them away and tell them to mind their own business. However, as fast as the two young men rushed up, they flew out just as fast. Facing the two miscellaneous fish, Yi Cheng didn't need to take any serious action at all. He just swept away with one hand. The two tall young men were immediately swept away by the strong wind, and their bodies were thrown away like large garbage. Landed on the ground and collapsed. Who is your excellency? I don't remember any enmity between our village and you. Looking at Yi Cheng who flung away two strong men in the village with one hand, the old village chief seemed to realize that Yi Cheng was a character not to be trifled with. However, he was really confused as to why Yi Cheng was meddling in his own business. It stands to reason that if the other person is someone who has a grudge against the village, it is impossible for him as a villager not to know the other person. After all, Yi Cheng is so handsome, and with such good looks, there is no reason for him to have no impression of the other person. Especially when a handsome man like Yi Cheng is accompanied by another guy who looks like an orc. Such a highly contrasting combination should attract attention instantly no matter where he goes. I don't like to meddle in other people's business, but the point of the problem is that I am the adventurer you call a scapegoat. I foolishly thought that the target of my crusade was a giant lizard, but when I got here I discovered that the target of my crusade had changed from a giant lizard to a giant dragon. Now, do you think this has anything to do with me? Quote, hearing what Yi Cheng said, the old village chief also had an ugly look on his face. He never thought that they would be so unlucky to reveal their original purpose in front of the person who suffered them. Village chief, this is the poisonous dragon. It was killed. When one of the two strong young men who were beaten to the ground by Yi Cheng was about to get up, he finally noticed the huge corpse dragged behind Yi Cheng. When he took a closer look, he was shocked to find that was actually the poisonous dragon that had been poisoning their village for a long time. As the village chief said before, the demonic poison dragon is a subspecies of poison dragon. It is over 15 meters long and is already an adult. It is an existence that ordinary humans cannot defeat. If you want to conquer such a being, you need either a perfectly equipped team of high-level adventurers or an active army, but only two people on the other side were able to kill such a dangerous and powerful poisonous dragon. It turns out to be the adventurer. Thank you both for defeating the demonic poison dragon and helping us and the surrounding villages eradicate this cancer. We can further discuss the remuneration, and please give us a chance to explain and apologize for this incident. Quote, hearing the young man's exclamation, the old village chief also walked quickly behind Yi Cheng and the others, and looked at the poisonous dragon that was divided into two halves, as if it could no longer die. He first showed surprise, and then I bowed and apologized to the two people in Yi City for my previous behavior. The opponent could kill the poisonous dragon and drag a corpse weighing several tons effortlessly so far. No matter how you looked at it, he was not an ordinary character. Therefore, the old village chief, who was flexible and flexible, immediately changed his previous attitude, and now towards Yi City the two of them were extremely respectful. How about you two come to our village to take a rest first, and let us thank you properly. After learning that Yi Cheng and the others were the adventurers who killed the poisonous dragon, the old village chief and the villagers immediately changed their previous attitudes and became very enthusiastic towards Yi Cheng and the others. The poisonous dragon was killed by Yi Cheng alone. It had nothing to do with me. I just passed by along the way. Seeing that they wanted to thank them for killing the demonic dragon, Shima Yosuke was very professional and thought they were going to give him a reward for the task, so he immediately said that he had done nothing. Forget it if I enter your village or something, I'm afraid I might be plotted by you if I don't do it. Since you all know that you have lied about the difficulty of the mission, I won't say anything more. As for the reward for this mission, you must give me another 50%. Otherwise, I will not only report this matter to the Adventurers Guild, but also inform your local lords. Quote. Regarding Yi Cheng's request, the old village chief did not hesitate and took out a small bag of gold coins from behind again and handed it to Yi Cheng. In the past, he would choose to lie about the difficulty of the commission and retain part of the funds because he believed that no adventurer could defeat the poisonous dragon. The money he withheld was intended to be used to relocate the village. But now the body of the demonic poison dragon is lying in front of them. Once the demonic poison dragon dies, the environmental problems caused by it will naturally be solved, and then they will naturally no longer need to move the village. After taking the bag of gold coins handed over by the other party, Yi Cheng confirmed that the amount was correct and was about to leave. However, at this time, the old village chief suddenly stopped in front of Yi Cheng. Do you have anything else to do? Under normal circumstances, after an adventurer defeats a powerful monster, the surrounding villages will hold a banquet to celebrate, and the adventurer, as the protagonist, would not refuse such an invitation under normal circumstances. After all, not only can you eat and drink for free, but you can also be praised by everyone. Many people still enjoy this feeling very much. But what puzzled the old village chief was how Yi Cheng was different from ordinary adventurers, and even didn't play according to the routine at all. He even said in a rather vague way just now that there are many young and beautiful girls in their village, and they admire handsome and powerful adventurers, but Yi City is still indifferent. To be honest, we have one more thing we want to trouble this powerful adventurer. Although the demonic poison dragon has been eradicated by Your Excellency, the recovery of the previously polluted water source will not happen overnight. The polluted water source cannot be used for drinking and irrigation. Now our village is already in a state of near drought, so you are going to ask me to provide you with after-sales service and solve the problem of contaminated water sources. Before the old village chief finished speaking, Yi Cheng had already guessed what the other party wanted to say and answered, "It's a pity, not to mention that I don't know the magic of purifying water. Even if I can help you, this should be considered another commission. The mission I received from the Adventurers Guild was to defeat poisonous monsters that were polluting the surrounding environment, and that was it. As for other aspects, it is not within the scope of my work at all." Quote. If he hadn't heard what the old villagers said before, after making a lot of money, Yi Cheng might have thought of ways to help the village solve its water problem, but now, Yi Cheng didn't want to meddle in other people's affairs at all. The other party regards the adventurer's life as nothing, so what can I do to pity such a person? Seeing that Yi Cheng had decided to leave, Lao Kunzi also sighed greatly. He also knew that their previous actions had offended Yi Cheng. To be honest, the fact that the other party did not report their behavior was enough to give them face. The behavior of letting Yi Cheng continue to help was indeed a sign that they were going too far. Yosuke, don't you plan to leave? Do you really plan to stay and help them solve the water problem? Yi Cheng was about to leave, but when he looked at Shima Yosuke who was still standing there, he couldn't help but froze. Yecheng, I think we should help them. Without water, this village will collapse. What's more, there are many women and children in this village, and many of them don't even know what the village chief is doing. Quote. Hearing Shima Yosuke's words, Yosuke knew that Shima Yosuke had softened his heart. This was also a common problem among otherworld protagonists. To put it nicely, he was called Asasha, but to put it badly, he was called the Holy Mother. Yi Cheng is not a heinous person. According to his observation just now, although the people in the village are indeed affected by the water source problem, it will not affect their normal life for the time being. It is just farmland and other things that will probably die. The poisonous dragon that affected the environment is dead. In just a few days, the polluted water source will naturally be diluted until it becomes non-toxic. This period of time can be regarded as lying to the village about the difficulty and treating the adventurers as nothing. The punishment is also good. But Shima Yosuke now said that he understood the feeling of having no water to drink and having to rely on rainwater to survive, so he wanted to help these villagers. Since this is your decision, I will take my leave now, and I hope your kindness will be well rewarded. Yosuke, let me give you one last piece of advice. This is a different world, not a game. Everyone here has independent thoughts and personalities. They will not treat all players equally like NPCs, and not everything you do will definitely be rewarded. Of course, I have always admired people who are willing to lend a helping hand to the weak, and I also agree with this approach. But not everyone is worthy of our helping hands. That's all I have to say. I hope I can teach you a good lesson this time. Quote. After leaving such words, Yi Cheng chose to turn around and leave. In his opinion, Shima Yosuke was still too naive. But you can't actually blame him. After all, he is just a 17-year-old boy in modern society who has not been beaten by society. Compared to the other party, Yi Cheng has been wandering around Rukongai for decades, and the cruel business environment has taught him a lot. Sometimes being too soft-hearted may not be a good thing. Some people are worth saving, just like the elf girl Kui before, but some people may not be grateful even if you help them, and some may even add insult to injury. After going through so much, Yi Cheng thought that he still had a good eye for seeing people. The old village chief was arrogant at first and respectful at the other. Before meeting Yi Cheng and the others, he regarded adventurers as if they were nothing. But when he learned that Yi Cheng and the others had killed the demonic poison dragon, and that he had something to ask for, his attitude was completely different. Yi Cheng had seen a lot of such two-faced people in Rukongai before, and it was not worth it at all. Help. In the next 2 days, Yi Cheng did not rush back to the town. Instead, he dismembered the useful materials from the poisonous dragon and waited outside the village to watch the show. It wasn't until the 3rd day that Yi Cheng, who had excellent senses, heard the bustling sounds of the village outside the village. A large number of villagers gathered in the square of the village. Yi Cheng knew that what he expected had happened. At this moment, Shima Yosuke was very miserable. His whole body was tied to a frame with no strength, and a large amount of firewood was placed under his body. Many villagers gathered around him to curse and point at him, while the old village chief held a torch in his hand. Obviously, they are preparing to cremate Shima Yosuke on the spot. But fortunately, just when the torch was about to ignite the wood, a sharp knife passed through the air. The torch in the old village chief's hand was immediately split into two, and Yi Cheng's figure slowly appeared in everyone's sight. Hey, Yosuke, I haven't seen you for 2 days, and the treatment you, a hero, seem to be not very good. Have you been moved by me? This must be the 2nd time I have rescued you. Quote. Seeing Yi Cheng appearing, Shima Yosuke, who was tied to the rack at the moment, also had a complicated expression on his face, because he himself did not expect that Yi City had really predicted the matter again. After Yi Cheng left that day, when Shima Yosuke said that there was a way to solve the village's water problem, the old village chief and others were very happy. In order to entertain Shima Yosuke, they even took out the few remaining water sources and food in the village. It's a pity that because of his appearance, the girls arranged by the village chief are not willing to approach Shima Yosuke. The reason is that he looks like an orc, and they really can't bear to talk. But even though the people in the village looked at him with colored glasses, Shima Yosuke was still very helpful in the end and helped the village solve the water problem. He used magic and modern knowledge to create a jar that can automatically gush water, but he did not know that this village has religious beliefs. They believe that water can only be pure if it flows from the ground or is obtained from a river. Water sources like Shima Yosuke's that were created out of thin air and had no roots or roots were considered devil's water by them. Originally he looked like an orc, but now he has taken out this devil's water, so Shima Yosuke is naturally regarded as a taboo existence. In terms of combat power alone, these people in the village cannot be Shima Yosuke's opponents now, but with the reason of thanking Shima Yosuke for helping them, the old village chief and others invited Shima Yosuke to have a big meal. It's just that this meal obviously has more ingredients than before. However, when Shima Yosuke woke up again, he was already tied up with his limbs weak, which was the scene that Yi Cheng had just seen. You are the adventurer who killed the poisonous dragon before, and you haven't left yet. We know that this orc is someone you know, but he violated the taboo of our village and asked you not to stop us from baptizing him. Quote. Seeing the appearance of Yi City, the old village chief also looked a little panicked. For adventurers who could kill the poisonous dragon, annihilating them together was as easy as playing a game. The main reason why he still dares to face Yi City and say such words now is because he knows that adventurers cannot kill innocent people at will. You call this baptism? Then do you want me to throw you into the fire and take a bath first? After all, this friend of mine helped you out of good intentions. Maybe he really didn't mean to offend your religious beliefs, but your way of handling it is a bit too much, right? Quote. Hearing what Yi Cheng said, the old villager held a fork and said with some sternness, "We are indeed eager to solve the water source problem, but no matter what, we will drink the devil's water without root or root. Water, that will erode our souls." Looking at the indignant old village chief, Yi Cheng sneered, then took the initiative to walk to the magic jar made by Shima Yosuke, took a scoop of water and drank it in front of everyone. Don't do it again. Treat your ignorance as so-called belief. The rain falling from the sky, the well water flowing out of the ground, and the water flowing in the river. Do you really think that these are gifts from the gods? These are just the atmosphere and water vapor. Forget it, I've said too much, you rubbish will listen. Don't know. The magic my friend uses is elven magic used to communicate with elves. Therefore, the water he created essentially came from water elves. Devil's water. It's simply nonsense. If the god you believe in is so awesome, why didn't he come out to help you when you were poisoned by the poisonous dragon? Because a person who believes in you and refuses to save you is now going to burn to death a person who helped you. Don't you think what you are doing is quite ridiculous? Quote. After Yi Cheng's remarks, everyone present was stunned. The old village chief wanted to say something several times, but when the words came to his lips, he found that he seemed to have no excuse to refute. And if you use force to convince the other party, it's better to stop making trouble. Facing a strong man who can kill the poisonous dragon alone, a group of ordinary people with farm tools are really not much different from the so-called ants. Shima Yosuke was finally rescued by Yi Cheng, and the people in the village did not dare to say a word at all. It wasn't until Yi Cheng and the others left for a long time that some villagers, because they were too hungry and thirsty, had the courage to walk up to the magic jar made by Shima Yosuke, and imitate what Yi Cheng had just done, scoop up a ladle of water and drink it. Village chief, this water is so sweet. It's really no different from the water we usually drink. After hearing what this villager said, other people couldn't help but moved forward and started grabbing the only water source. You saved my life again this time. Thank you very much, Yi Cheng. But how do you know that I will be in danger? Quote. The toxins on Shima Yosuke's body were quickly dispelled with the help of the elves. Looking at Yi Cheng beside him, Shima Yosuke once again expressed his gratitude and asked the questions in his heart. It seems that I should have taken action later, or at least I should have waited until the old man lit the fire and burned your ass. I originally wanted you to learn a lesson, but now it seems that this lesson is not profound. I've told you before, this is not a game, but a real world. Not everyone is worthy of help. Put away your holy mother's heart, otherwise one day you will not even know how to die, dead. You may not be so lucky next time. Don't expect me to be nearby and willing to save you every time. Quote. After sighing silently, Yi Cheng didn't know how to explain to this innocent child, so he chose to leave quickly. Yi City currently wants to upgrade the adventurer level, collect some funds, and then explore the world. However, Shima Yosuke planned to continue traveling around the world, so the two naturally parted ways again soon. It is worth mentioning that before the two separated, there was another little episode, that is, the two met a brother and sister who were attacked by orcs on the road. Seeing that the siblings were about to be forced into a desperate situation, Yi Cheng was originally ready to take action, but before he could take action, Shima Yosuke beside him rushed forward faster. The previous encounters he faced in that village did not frustrate Shima Yosuke, a young man from another world with a strong heart, at all. He thought that it was purely an accident that he would be treated like that before. After all, the people in that village have religious beliefs, and I, who violated the taboo, were treated like that. Although it was a bit excessive, it was still understandable. This time he rescued the siblings from the vicious orcs. With the aura of a hero saving a beautiful woman, couldn't the siblings burst into tears of gratitude to him? Originally he could use magic to deal with the enemy from a distance, but this time Shima Yosuke used light magic to condense a sword of light, and stepped forward to kill the monster in an extremely coquettish way. And Yashara, who saw Shima Yosuke fighting for the first time, also began to observe from the sidelines. According to Shima Yosuke, the source of his magic communicates with the elves in the air and is realized through their power. Just like the Sword of Light in Shima Yosuke's hand now, it is used by the power of the Light Elves. But Yi Cheng also noticed one thing. With the power of the Light Elf, Shima Yosuke used seemingly very cool lightsaber magic, but his own swordsmanship level was only scratching his head. Describe. This is not surprising. The power that elves can give is magic and power, but they cannot give Shima Yosuke his own skills. After all, before Shima Yosuke came to this world, he was just an ordinary 17-year-old otaku. That's all. Of course, with the sharp sword of light and the speed bonus given by the Wind Elves, Shima Yosuke had no problem killing a few low-level orcs even though he had no skills at all. A stream of light flashed through the air, and the big wooden stick that was originally swung at a pair of brothers and sisters in trouble was instantly split into two by the sword of light. Even the half-orc holding the big wooden stick was also split into two. Seeing his companion being beheaded, the other half-orc, who had no IQ to speak of, roared immediately, raised the wooden stick in his hand, and was about to knock Shima Yosuke and the siblings off the cliff behind him with one sweep. However, just as the orc raised the wooden stick in his hand, a faint male voice came from not far away, and along with it, there was a white thunderbolt about the thickness of a baby's forearm. Broken Path 4, White Thunder. The white thunder was like a lightning bolt in the air, spanning a distance of tens of meters at an astonishing speed, and accurately penetrated the orc's head, and finally dissipated into the sky. The half-orc whose head was penetrated was still holding the stick high at the moment, but when the breeze blew by in the next second, his huge body fell to the ground with a crash, and a black mark appeared between his eyebrows. Small hole. This lady, and my little brother, you are not injured. Because of the second orc's attack just now, Shima Yosuke wanted to physically block the attack for the siblings in front of him, so the distance at this moment was naturally very close to the siblings. For this pair of siblings who were in trouble in another world, the elder sister was about 14 or 15 years old, while the younger brother in her arms was only about 7 or 8 years old. Thank you very much for saving us. Neither my brother nor I. Ah, don't get close to me, orcs. When the rescued siblings saw the orc falling to the ground in front of them, they also knew that they had been rescued. When they heard the voice next to their ears, they immediately smiled and prepared to express their gratitude to their benefactors. However, when the girl looked up at the face of the orc so close to her, the smile that was originally on her face changed in an extremely short time, and she became extremely panicked and disgusted. Shima Yosuke's appearance was already below average in this world. After being starved for a week, his appearance completely dropped to the level of an orc. The appearance of half-orcs is nothing more. With the bonus of hero-saving beauty, Shima Yosuke can provide some filter bonus. However, in order to reassure the siblings in front of him, Shima Yosuke squeezed out a character that he thought a gentle smile. Good guy. With Shima Yosuke's current appearance and forced smile, Yi Cheng really can't see anything other than vulgarity. The brother and sister, who had been hunted down by the orcs, had a mental breakdown. When they saw Shima Yosuke's malicious expression at this moment, the brother was frightened and cried immediately, and the girl seemed to be afraid of what would happen to her. Due to the body's rejection reaction, he naturally pushed Shima Yosuke in front of him away. The location where the three people were before was at the end of a cliff. The girl pushed Shima Yosuke off the cliff out of defensive instinct. After doing all this, the girl seemed to realize that she had just done a very bad thing, but when she thought of the wretched face that was so close to her before, the girl kept comforting herself. That person just now, even if he is not an accomplice of the orcs, he is certainly not a good person. And as if hearing the girl's murmur, Yi Cheng, not far away, walked up at this moment, and looked at the still panic-stricken sister and brother and said, that person is not an orc, but me, companion. Although he looks a little weird, he did save you just now. For the benefactor who came to help, don't you think that your behavior just now was a bit excessive? Quote. Hearing what Yi Cheng said, the girl was stunned for a moment, and then she started covering her face and crying loudly. Before, her home was attacked by a group of orcs. Her parents escaped to protect them, but they were eventually torn into pieces by the orcs. And she herself managed to get here with her brother. Because they had witnessed the destruction of their homes and the tragedy of many young girls being ravaged by orcs, the girls already had a huge psychological shadow and fear of orcs. She didn't want to push Shima Yosuke off the cliff just now, but the other person's face looked too much like an orc, and the girl originally just pushed him away, but unexpectedly she pushed him down the mountain. P.S. The siblings appearing here are not the same pair as the pair in the original plot. The pair of siblings in the original plot were too unreasonable. After understanding the cause and effect of the incident, and seeing the girl crying with self-blame, Yi Cheng also understood that the girl's behavior just now was not intentional, but a self-defense instinct caused by nervous tension. Shima Yosuke is the same guy. He has no idea about his appearance. He still wants to reassure the panicked girl with a smile. Why doesn't he check that he has the potential to be a male god? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.